Well, hello everyone and welcome back to VCO Esports and welcome back to the Esports Racing League. If you can't tell, we got a big smile on our faces because we're getting ready to go racing as we bring to a close this Summer Cup. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by the Dream Team once more. Luke Crane joins us once again, Lewis McLeod back in the hot seat as well, and I'll come straight to you, Luke. We missed you last time out, but we're here on Assetto Corsa. We're ready to get back underway. I'm sure you missed us. Maybe we missed you a little bit as well.
I was watching you from a Wokings McDonald's last time, so yeah, not ideal. And also, you didn't sound like you missed me at all, so you can stop all this pandering to me while I'm here. But we're here on ACC today. It's going to be a fantastic day. Again, ACC. Oh, going to be great.
Not GT3 cars, though. That's the state of play when ACC release was very much a focus on the GT3 machinery. We step over to a Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. And Lewis, let's recap what we saw last time out. We saw some drama. It was decided in the steward's room. It wasn't Redline on top, though. The Apex Racing team finally become the third winner of an Esports Racing League event.
Yeah, and it was decisive. They were very, very strong all day. Yes, it came down to the steward's room, fair enough, but it was kind of one that we'd already kind of worked out roughly where things were going to go. It was sort of not the massive shock decision, and at the end of the day, it was the stronger team all day that came out on top. Apex were completely dominant throughout the day. They won two of their heats. The third of the heats, it was Jamie Fluke that finished a couple of positions back. Outside of that, they were always at the front, and when it came down to the final, it was just odd seeing Redline being essentially on the back foot.
It was fun, but for the Apex Racing team, these are points they very much needed to get on the board after struggling in the spring to adapt to the challenges of this Esports Racing League. We'll talk more about the lineup for the Apex Racing team in a couple of moments' time. What are we in for today? Those who have watched the Summer Cup know the slightly different format that we've got in store for you compared to the Esports Racing World Cup and indeed the Spring Cup earlier this year. Of the 26-27 teams, each team will send one driver to each of the three heats before we go on to the quarter-final races. And Lewis, talk us through the way that we get to the best-of-3 finals.
Yeah, obviously we start with those heats. The lowest point score across two of the three heats. We have one of them which is a drop score, move into the quarterfinals. Quite simple from there. They split out between two quarterfinals, evenly split. It will be 14 teams, so 7 in one and 7 in the other. The top 3 teams from each move through into the semi-finals, where the top 2 teams will move on into those finals once again. Redline, we know how they are. They're so strong. They keep moving their way up. But we're on ACC today. This is Unicorns of Love's playground, and we know how strong they are. Of all of the ERL and ERWC events that we've had on this platform, it's always been Unicorns of Love coming out on top. But we've already broken one trend this season. Why not break 2?
It's not just significant for that, but of course, next time we go racing in the Esports Racing League, it's for our unique, well, more unique than what we have today, the Masters format. August 10th, we'll go back to rFactor 2, and the top 12 teams out of just the Summer Cup point standings will advance on forward. Can be a little bit confusing, but we loved that format last time out, Luke, but this time, with a different car, those BTCC machines, we saw just how much they like to bang doors with one another. There's plenty on the line for the drivers here today.
Yeah, a lot more forgiving when you get to the Masters with the car specifically. I think today's going to be very interesting because we expect Unicorns of Love, the likes of Veloce, Yaz Heat, they're the sort of strong teams when it comes to ACC. I think it's going to be completely different today. One reason, the car. The car isn't a car that's generally used in these big esports competitions, so the amount of repetitions that have been used by these drivers will be similar across the board. And I feel like a lot of the teams from iRacing specifically would have had a lot of time in the iRacing version of the car, albeit it's different sim, of course, different physics or whatnot, but they have still got that amount of time. They understand that it's, you know, the low traction of the car. They understand the ins and outs of the car from a basic standpoint, and that really will put them in good stead. So for me, Team Redline instantly become one of your favorites, R8G as well, and I think Apex are going to be in and amongst it. As much as me and you have argued already today, Arjuna, because you spoke to Jamie Fluke, I genuinely believe they will be in and amongst it, and they've had a phenomenal summer part of our cups, and they've had to really as well, because their spring version was not great at all.
Very much have stepped up, and this time out, Jamie Fluke paired with Gael Valero, part of the Apex Racing Academy, and Bastian Richter out of the Unicorns of Love camp. Of course, Lewis, you love to talk to us about the Unicorns of Love and NetRex partnership, but this is something slightly different. This is building as well to the Fall Cup.
Yeah, of course. So for the Unicorns of Love, they've focused their team, obviously, more so on getting stronger in the RF2, because obviously with it being the Summer Cup, it's an rFactor 2 base, the Masters on rFactor 2, so they want to look stronger for that, which means that they've had to essentially eliminate one of their ACC drivers. Well, what do you do then? They're too good to just sort of let go completely. Wonder if there's somewhere else they can go. For Bastian Richter, going over to quite a strong team as well through the Summer Cup. Obviously, this is all dealt with pre-season stuff. No driver changes during the season, but a great little spot for Bastian Richter to go, and will boost what has been one of the strongest teams so far this season. They went so well on RF2 at Apex, obviously with a third place finish. They went so strong on iRacing with a victory. What can they achieve here now that they've got a proper ACC specialist in their ranks?
We've talked about the who, we've talked about the what. Let's talk about the where we're racing. Of course, you decide on social media where we go racing in this Esports Racing League. The choice was between a return to Brands Hatch, which of course we saw at iRacing in the Spring Cup, or headed to South Africa and to Kyalami, just north of Johannesburg. And I'm delighted with quite considerable majority of the vote. We are racing at Kyalami, and this is a place which is coming back into global motorsports. But Luke, there's plenty of passing opportunities.
Oh, wow, this place is incredible. Turn 1, you can go in there 5 or 6 wide, but a pinch point is just absolutely ridiculous. Then you've got a set of S's up towards the next big long straight, and the next pinch point being turn number 4 as well, with that left-hander. So, yeah, the start of this track is very, very interesting. We're going to see a lot of moves being made there as well. And with the nature of the car, last of the late breakers, you could be super, super brave, and there'll be other drivers that are a little bit more conservative, so expect there to be maybe some carnage, but there are chances here for sure if you don't qualify particularly well.
And Lewis, this is a track that isn't really represented in sim racing too much. Its appearance on ACC has very much been allowing it to gain a little bit more of a momentum in the sim racing community. For those new to the track, including myself, what are we in for here today?
It's a tricky one, 4.5k around, some great overtaking opportunities, particularly down towards the second corner, also up towards the highest part on the circuit, up at T10 and T11 on the run down the hill. Final corner, that final sector is a little bit tricky and a little bit tight, but the start-finish straight, there is a bit of a kink on there as well, which doesn't count as a corner in this one. We won't go into it too much, Arjuna, don't you worry, but that is an incredibly long run from the final corner to the first braking zone, and that is where we're going to see a majority of the overtakes.
Well, we're here on ACC. Porsche 911 Gen 2 Cup Car, or 992 Generation Cup Car, excuse me, and Kyalami. 3 will become 2. I'll be watching along with you guys. Lewis and Luke are ready to go for the first of 3 heat races. Let's see what Kyalami's got in store for us here today.
Yes, indeed, the ERL Summer Cup here on Assetto Corsa Competizione about to get underway. On the front row of the grid, we'll see Tobias Pfeffer alongside Dominic Blyer, a strong front row. And then, of course, on the road directly behind, you're going to have Bastian Richter, one of the teammates of Tobias Pfeffer. Erhan Jofsky going a bit stronger. Couple of big names up and down the order. Jack Keithley down in 14th position for Williams Esports, one of the drivers that was so strong back on rFactor 2 as well. But I don't think, Luke, there's any shock to see Tobias Pfeffer on pole position. We know how strong he is.
Oh, 100%. And he needs a massive performance here as well. Perfect way to start things off, right? Heat 1, it's one of those where you it's a free hit, if you like, because you've got 2 other races for your fellow drivers to then go and tee off and get a good result for your team. So right now, expect it to be nice and scrappy at the start. Expect people to take a lot of chances here. But more importantly, some of the teams that are not quite, in that top 12 need a big result, need a good way of kicking off. Triton Racing, I'm looking at them. Unicorns of Love, Mirror Esports, they are the 3 teams just outside the top 12 that are not quite qualified for our Masters. And then you've got to look at teams like Team Fordzilla, Brabham Esports and Arnage Competition. They are the 3 that are in the top 12 as it stands. So massive, massive day for those teams involved.
Yeah, I saw Aspar down there in 9th position alongside Jeffrey Rietveld, Team Redline in just 10th position. Heading down, you've got a couple others down here. Koana Gaming have been so impressive so far this season. Got Arnage Competition, got BS Competition back here with Jonas Raivio behind the wheel. It's one of those things with ERL. We shouldn't be too shocked, Luke, but every time we come racing in this, yes, of course, we're moving over different platforms and all that kind of stuff, but always you get down to this end of the grid and you're still thinking, there's just big names galore back here still.
Yeah, 100%. It's a ridiculous field each and every time, and it is mind-blowing to us as commentators because, yeah, you go down to P23 here, and everyone's an absolute superstar. Drivers that I would not, if I was in a split on any ACC iRacing or rFactor 2, and I see any of these names, I'm like, yeah, probably not winning this one then. So, yeah, it's ridiculous. We got a lovely shot here of Kyalami, one of the best in terms of being able to run close to another car in front of you. Overtaking opportunities are plenty, as you said. It's very difficult to make overtakes on this game specifically because it is an endurance-based game. But this car, it will be a little bit easier because it's a little bit more about the driver. It's a tougher car to handle.
Yeah, we'll get rolling in just a couple of seconds on that. The start of the formation, it's not a formation lap. We head through the penultimate corner here at T15 and we take a big breath because you'll see how long this run is. The 16th and final corner and then a very long run on the start-finish straight through the kink and then down towards Crowthorne at the second corner, the real first braking zone. It'll be Tobias Pfeffer leading from pole position with Dominic Blyer alongside. Round 3 in the Summer Cup, the final one before we head into the Masters, is about to get underway here on ACC, and Tobias Pfeffer for Unicorns of Love is in control. Wait for the green flag as we're about to get underway, and we are racing for 10 minutes in the first of the heat races on that charge down towards the first braking zone. Great launch from Dominic Blyer, will be on the outside, he'll commit heavily on the brakes. It's Bastian Richter in that Apex racing car directly behind, deep onto the brakes. Nice little hold there from Tobias Pfeffer, departing the first real corner and leading strongly. Dominic Blyer also still hanging on to second place.
Brilliant stuff there from everybody in the field. I was expecting it to be a bit of a crash fest here at Kyalami, just because of the nature of turn 1, or as you would like to call it, turn 2. Raivio, by the way, and Barna, they've both got drive-throughs, although it looks like they're getting removed here as well. So the stewards will have a look at their start phase, and if it looks good, then they will have that removed, which is good to see. But yeah, it's a fantastic start there from Pfeffer. Of course, Richter, who has been given his opportunity with Apex from Unicorns of Love, he's sort of loaned out, if you like, in the top 3 here. Unicorns of Love have about 900 drivers that are capable of running at the top on ACC. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, got Stsenko, who's worked up a couple of spots on the grid, up just past Erhan Yovski. This is back with Alberto Garcia, who started in 9th position, dropped back to 13th, behind Arnage Competition, who's had an absolutely superb start. The Hungarian of David Toff has made a great launch. This is the turn 10, turn 11 section as we start heading down the hill towards my favourite corner on this entire circuit. Turn 12, Mineshaft. It's just a big, deep breath, but you've got to pull it back over to the left-hand side of the circuit before getting into the braking zone at the Crocodiles. But you've got to be careful for a big lunge, and that's exactly what Jonas Raivio was looking for in that BS competition car.
Yeah, makes a little bit of a mistake there and just doesn't get it quite configured on the exit. But there's another chance here through the second of those 2 right-handers, and then it's the run down in towards that final corner. Real harsh braking zone, and you've got to set yourself up here perfectly for this long run. And there's a big accident here. Not too sure who was involved in that exactly, but the Arnage competition car, he was the one who unfortunately has had the most of that. And now the field's been split into 2 here. And I think that might have been a Williams eSport car facing the wrong way, but they've kind of been righted by everybody else behind them.
Yeah, not sure exactly how it went about. It's Aspar as well that's attacking in the background. Garcia with Jonas Raivio trying to get around the outside. You've got Mattia Creepy in the John Lacey Esports Academy car fending off that Brabham Esports car of Manas Gerardis at the moment in 15th spot. Ballas Esports as well on the rear end of that. Before we've got Luca D'Amelio for the Patrick Long Esports. Got Burst Esports in there as well. It's a crazy train here at the back end. At the top, though, it's a comfortable lead for our race leader right now, Tobias Pfeffer.
This is incredible stuff here. You're just mentioning the second group over here and the names that you're just throwing out there and not even battling for a top 10 in this first heat. This is only the first heat as well. There's still 2 more heats to go. A ridiculous level of competition in this championship, and may go as far to say it's the strongest field we've ever seen across all of our competitions here. Almost a bit of contact between the 2. Looks like the netcode there was absolutely bob on here on ACC. The BS competition car, though, it's just been able to drive away with everyone fighting in behind here. We head then through this left-hander, Balash Esports there, just giving a little hello to the Brabham car, just almost a hi, I'm here. Don't worry, they can see you. You're right behind them in their rear view mirror.
Can see here for the Mikhail Stsenko 4th position at the moment, ahead of Erhan Yovski. Big lead at the moment for Tobias Pfeffer. Blyer not being able to keep up, and Bastian Richter in that Apex car presently in 3rd position. Remember, there's been an issue for the Patrick Long Esports team. Luca D'Amelio's been spun out coming in towards the Crocodiles. That one's T13, 14 and 15. This whole section heading up towards Cheetah as they start going down the hill. But clearly in that entire pack that we were looking at, there has been some significant issues.
Yeah, not ideal as well, but Patrick Long Esports have been absolutely sensational during this Summer Cup. After round number 2, they're currently in P6 overall, so it's not a necessity that they have a big day, but they still do need to go out there and earn some points just to guarantee themselves passage, because, again, some of the big teams in terms of this game, ACC, you've got Yas Heat that are phenomenal at this game. You've got Veloce Esports, of course, as well, and I'll go as far to say GTWR as well. Like, they will be stealing points away if you give them the chance. So, yeah, as much as it's not a massive event really for Patrick Long, they don't have to be right up there. They still need to make sure they grab some points.
Yes, indeed. And like I say, when we're talking about points, essentially, for whatever position you finish in, that's the points you get. You finish in first, you get 1 point, second, 2 points, and it is the lowest amount of points, which will be moving on into those quarterfinals. And right now, you don't need 3 brilliant races. You just really need 1 really good race, like what we're seeing from the likes of Bastian Richter. We know that with the Apex team, they're saying that they're not feeling so strong on this. They just need 1 good race now, what Bastian Richter's giving them, and then just 1 pretty decent race. They only need to be in the top 14 teams. That's exactly what they're aiming for. Mattia Creepy, though, this is back in 14th position. It's Manos Gerardis directly behind in that Brabham Esports car. Ballas has dropped a little bit off the rear end. And as you were saying earlier, that the BS competition of Jonas Raibio, whilst this group's fighting, has been able to pull away comfortably from the group.
Yeah, now trying to chase down Garcia, which is a couple of seconds up the road here. So not a million miles away, but with this race being nearly over, 4 minutes, 40 odd seconds left to go, it becomes very, very difficult indeed, as we are now heading on with Dominic Blyer currently in second spot, Richter just in behind. And right now, you don't really want to take too many chances. You've got very, very, very closely behind you Statsenko, of course, as you see a potential move then down in towards turn number 1, or you would like to say turn number 2, I would say, but it's not. It's Creepy then.
It's not. It's definitely one
up the inside. It's definitely 1 for sure, isn't it, right?
100%.
And this is still side by side. This is the hardest place to go side by side. A very, very good move across there. Very aggressive move across there to stop the advancements there of Creepy. And actually, the position is held on there. So Raivio does hold on to that position. But that was, again, a decision you've got to make in an instant. It was the right decision that time, but I'll tell you now, 9 times out of 10, you're getting taken out there if you're driving across the bonnet of someone through those S's.
Yeah, trying to get around the outside of Sunset. Soon a better side-by-side earlier on. Race Control already jumping in. Koana Gaming receiving a 3 penalty point. That will add essentially to their positions. It will be added to their points total after this. We'll climb into that in a few moments' time after the race when we start looking at the point structure and how it's working for some of these teams. But we're already receiving a 3 penalty point deduction, which will be added regardless of whether this is the drop score or not. Those penalty points are added to the team's total. Back up to second position. Dominic Blyer in second, holding on from Bastian Richter and Stetsenko for Yas Heat as well was Erhan Yovsky, the 4 of them in quite a nice tight little train. Pivot, by the way, has done a good job to get up into 6th position for the Fordzilla team, looking very strong, at least so far this afternoon. Also saw a little bit of side-by-side for 11th position as the Williams Esports was holding on from the Aspar car. That's Jack Keithley from Garcia. The 2 of them very, very close. We had a bit of side-by-side coming up towards Sunset again. Our Nage competition as well with a 3 penalty point or 3-point deduction post race for David Toff. Bit of a shame.
Yeah, just to give a little bit more of an explanation as to what Lewis meant there. Basically, in these 3 heat races, your best 2 positions or best 2 drivers' points will count, but any penalty points will be added to your best 2 drivers' performance as well. So that's why any penalty points from all 3 drivers will count towards your final score. What a phenomenal performance it has been from Fefa, by the way. Got given an opportunity to drive away and absolutely took that. We're on board then with the Arnage team. We've just received that penalty just in behind the Balash Esports team as well. They're in with Blast Burst / Blast or Burst Esports as well, just behind them. So many, I just keep getting confused with their name, and I'm now doing it on purpose at this point, but then still managing to make some mistakes with their name. I'm going to give a shout out to Valentin Barriere right now for TX3, currently P7, which is a phenomenal performance. He's ahead of Kapoccia, who's currently down in P8. But yeah, Valentin Barriere doing a sensational job as we go back on board here with P2. And Lewis, if you're Blyer, you're kind of hoping that Richter doesn't try and do anything too crazy here. You know, you're both in a very, very good position. Just kind of hold and just take that on board with 1 and a bit laps to go.
Yeah, I'm kind of for which team is more desperate right now. So for Triton, the way that I'm seeing it is they're an ACC team, right? And so if Dominic Blyer doesn't get second position, he drops back into 3rd, I feel that his teammates will be more comfortable at picking up the pieces in the later races to gain enough points to move straight through into the quarterfinals without too much of an issue. Apex have a bit more of an issue in the sense of the other 2 drivers within their camp, being Gael Valero and, of course, Jamie Fluke. They're less confident. in ACC. Whilst there is a little bit of experience there is a lower level of confidence, which means for me, Bastian Richter kind of needs that second place more than Dominic Blythe, as we follow, if you catch my drift. Yeah,
100%. But on the flip side, it's 1 point difference. I don't think it's enough to really push and potentially ruin. Like, this might be the best opportunity to get a podium for your team this week. You know, the second heat, the third heat, you just have no idea what's going to happen. Not necessarily believing in the ability of your drivers, you just don't know what can happen into turn number 1, right? So if you can guarantee yourself a podium right now by not pushing, I think you take that. You take your medicine and you move on and hope your teammates back you up.
Yes, indeed. A bit of a slide there as well from Bastian Richter, so definitely no chance for him to attack coming into Sunset on the departure of Barbecue, which you saw the Burst Esports car in the background of Rice having a bit of an issue departing the 5th corner of the circuit. This is Mattia Creepy at the moment, behind Manos Gerardis, behind Jonas Raivio, but still ahead of Appel and David Toff. Again, that 17th place car of David Toff will have 3 penalty points added post-race as well. Race Control saying another thing, Mirror Esports, Martin Barner, another car to have picked up 3 penalty points. You weren't here, obviously, for the last round at Road America on iRacing, but I will say Race Control didn't have too much to do on that day, whereas here, they've already dished out 3 penalties.
That's crazy as well, because there was that massive calamity. It's almost like a game of Wii bowling down in towards turn number 3 at Road America. So yeah, very interesting to say the very least. But Lewis here, we're on a final lap, and the Unicorns of Love, well, I said that they might not be the favourites today. They're doing pretty well here in Heat 1.
ACC is their platform. Unicorns of Love taking top spot once again, and Tobias Pfeffer dominates the first race here at Kyalami. Dominic Blyer holds on for second place behind, with Bastian Richter in third for the Apex Racing team, but it's been a tight fight for 10th on back. Jack Keithley 11th place, Alberto Garcia, they had a race-long tussle for 11th and 12th. Did see also Manos Gerardis hanging on from Mattia Creepy across the line. Luca D'Amelio having a bit of issues with that spin, managed to recover only to 20 seconds, but what a super performance once again from the Unicorns of Love. No matter what car we race at, if it's on this platform, they appear to be quite strong, Arjuna.
One thing that obviously comes into that is the fact that we race with fixed setups and other platforms. ACC doesn't allow us to do that. There is a baseline setup provided, but those with the experience will know the tricks and the ways to find speed from the car. Interesting first heat. I think the most interesting thing to me, Lewis, was what you pointed out, Race Control having to be a bit busier than we thought they would be.
Yeah, it's a tricky race circuit. You know, elevation is a big part of it, but I don't know, sometimes, particularly up towards turn 10 and 11, coming down towards the crocodile and stuff, you're just kind of lulled into it. You think, oh, actually, I can go for it. I can send it. I can give it a little bit of a whirl down the inside, and suddenly the corner's a lot tighter than you think it is. A couple of drivers falling foul of that. We saw a few cars backwards in that final sector as well. People getting quite hungry. First race of the day, I think you can afford to be a little bit calmer than we've seen. But we know how these things go. Race 2 might be a little bit calmer. Race 3 certainly won't be. We know that that's where the fisticuffs really come out.
And I'll go to something that you said earlier, Luke. The ACC, more of an endurance style simulator than a sprint style simulator. This is a car that does both. When it's a Super Cup car, no traction control, no ABS. When it's an endurance car for some of the gentleman drivers, you get those assists. Here on ACC, they have anti-lock brakes. For the newcomers to this car, that's something they have to overcome and learn, because a lot of times in the real world, people don't understand this, but you use the assist, whether you're an amateur or a pro driver, you use what the car gives you to go fast.
Yeah, you 100% do. But on the flip side, if you want to go really quick with this car, you don't want to be triggering the ABS. You want to be on your own feel effectively. So it's a very fine line. Obviously, it can help you, but at this level, it really is more of a hindrance, I would say. I'll probably use the example more for a GT3 car. You're trying to stay off of the ABS as much as you possibly can, and the same with like the TC. Obviously, they don't have TC with this car. I'm going to say one thing here, though. The further we go in this competition, Unicorns of Love loaning out a driver to a team like Apex, who've been phenomenal in the Summer Cup, is that going to come back to bite them at some point?
I like the idea, though. I like this cooperation, the collaboration, because you're only allowed to pick 5 drivers for each of these cups. Yes, 3 drivers race per simulator, but you get 5 people to make up your roster from, and there's so many talented drivers, Lewis, that it's good that people are being given opportunities to shine in other teams, learn something, maybe bring that back to the place that they call home.
No, I do agree, though, with what Luke was saying. It's a bit odd they're handing him out to Apex, right? Which is a team which could be a threat later on in this. You know, even when we get into the, I know it's obviously this is playing a very a long game with it, but think of it, if we get into when we get into ERWC II at the start of next year, what if it's them versus Apex? Might they be regretting loaning out such a strong driver to a strong team? Would have made maybe more sense than to have handed it out to a bit of a weak team, but that's not how this works. You know, there are obviously a lot of partnerships, a lot of deals done behind the scenes that we're not privy to, or even if we are, we can't say on broadcast. Yeah, it's an interesting one. But for Apex, I mean, they are just looking so strong this season. And maybe Bastion Richter being a part of the squad might also still help the likes of Valero and Fluke.
Remember, that's a decision that would have been made before we went racing on rFactor 2 to start off the Summer Cup. And when you look at the standings right now, Team Redline lead with 50 points in the Summer Cup. Apex Racing Team only 1 point behind. It's very different. It's a very different situation to how that decision would have been thought on and reflected on. Remember, the top 12 after today in the Summer Cup standings advance to our ERL Masters on August 10th when we head back to rFactor 2. It's close from about 10th on backwards in the points, Luke, with Team Fordzilla on 29, Unicorns of Love 24 points in 14th. They've got some work to do. That's why they're somewhat comfortable on ACC, but they can't afford to slack up and let anyone come through and pick up the pieces.
Yeah, I think it would have been a case of, look, if we're within 3 or 4 points of the top 12 going into ACC, that's pretty good. We're going to be golden to get through to the Masters. And can any of you argue against that? Like, they're going to be strong here today, regardless of the car or whatnot. But I just think the teams, I'm going to just quickly get the sheet up here. I've currently had the entry list in. So I think the teams such as Brabham Esports, Arnage Competition, Team Fordzilla, they might be in a bit of trouble today because there are specialists like Veloce out there. There's Yaz Heat and such teams like that that can get themselves involved here. I think Jean and AC Esports could have a big day today as well with ACC. It's kind of one of their stronger ones. But yeah, as far as Unicorns of Love not being in that top 12 means one of them comes out, right? So, you know, would it be Team Fordzilla, Brabham, or Arnage Competition? I think that's where the pressure is because there's a big gap then. 3 points to RHE Esports, who are currently in P9, and 3 points is absolutely massive in this competition. It's effectively 3 positions when it comes to the semi-finals or quarterfinals or final, wherever you finish. So yeah, massive day for those sort of 3 teams on the bubble.
Well, Heat 1's done, so we've got 2 heats to go before we know the lineup and the makeup of our quarterfinals. Again, it'll be Lewis and Luke to walk you through all the action. Let's head back to Kailami for heat number 2.
Well, Unicorns of Love were in charge of that first heat, and guess who is in charge of this one? Mitchie Tauscher in the pole position at the moment. He'll be alongside Malinovsky. Charcot, though, said Triton were looking strong today. 3rd place on the grid. So they've had a podium in the first one, looking to potentially continue on that form. Luca Lozio for the Jean Lacey Esports Academy. You know, Luke, you were saying that they're going to be quite strong today. Started out with a decent result from Mattia Creepy. Lozio definitely, though, is an ACC specialist. No surprise seeing them in 4th. RHG also looking pretty strong here.
Yeah, again, Yaz Heat, this is the team that should or could come out of absolutely nowhere today in terms of their ACC credentials. But by looking at the entry list, they've only got 2 drivers today. So this is their own second opportunity and last opportunity of getting a good result. But Statsenko got a good result previously, I think finishing P4, right? Or P5 maybe. So yeah, if Malinovsky can back that up, then they're golden. But if you've, like you said, you got Shark up there, and he says Triton's looking really, really good. Like, they're one of the teams that are kind of on the bubble. They're already in that top 12. No, sorry, Triton are P13, aren't they? So they kind of need to displace teams like Arnage or Brabham. I think Brabham, Fordzilla, and Arnage might all drop out today. Just looking at the entry list here, it's so strong. And if they do stay in, well, fair play to them, but it's going to be so tough. There's so many different storylines here, Lewis. And well, now we're getting into our race action.
Yeah, Fordzilla might be strong. Decent result from Piffet in the first race, and Sean Arnold starting in 13th alongside the Apex Racing team. Gal Valero starting from 14th position again after that decent 3rd place finish. They're looking to transfer early today and already focus their attention on the quarter-finals. One team that could almost lock their way in straight away will be Unicorns of Love. If they can win this race, Mitchie Tauscher will start from the pole, and that race down towards the first corner is alongside drivers that he's raced with with time and time again in the likes of Malinovsky and Charcot in Lozio. The second heat race is about to get underway here in Kyalami as the green flag is out and we're racing our way down towards Crowthorne. The first corner of the track is a great launch from Tauscher, who's got fully onside. Bit of a spin. That's Luca Lozio straight into the barrier in the background. He comes right back in front of Apex. Guile Valero foots the bill for that one, and there's already issues before we've even got to the first corner, and there's more for the first. That's Redline round. That's Arnage round as Koana as well. Oh my goodness, Legion of races involved, but it is a comfortable lead right now for Mitchie Tauscher.
I would say that they didn't manage to get down into turn one before they made a crash, but obviously there is turn one along that straight. Again, another little joke there for Lewis, who loves a corner that's not a corner. But yeah, they were 4 wide into turn number 1, and this is what I said. This is in race number 1. If you're top 3, top 4, guarantee yourself that result. Don't push. Do not try and push for anything more because you do not know what can happen. And while we've seen some big dogs go out here, massive opportunity, I'd say most notably here, Sean Arnold's now up to P12. Of course, Team Fordzilla, who are already in that top 12 going towards our Masters, need to qualify for at least the quarterfinals here. As we see a potential move, Malinovsky sends one up the inside then of the Unicorns of Love. And Mitchie Tauscher's like, yep, nobody's home there, my friend. I'm coming back at you. Contact between the both of them. Malinovsky off the circuit here, then Charcot. They're going to say, thank you very much. I'll have a freebie then down towards this long sweeping left-hander. And Malinovsky was looking to go to P1, now down to P3.
Yeah, through mineshaft they go. Great bit of racing between the two, although I think Race Control might look at Mitchie Tauscher for that one. He did light up the rears coming down the hill before they got to mineshaft. Big moment there, and that's going straight on. That's Morlana in the Legion of Racers car. So Sean Arnold's got straight back to the inside, trying to work his way past. I'll correct myself earlier. It wasn't Legion of Racers, it was actually Ballas, but looking to the inside, Williams Esports, Jakub Brzezinski makes the move down the inside. A little bit of brave racing, shall we say, but certainly not ideal.
No, not ideal at all there, but it was brilliant. It was, again, hold on, not ideal for the drivers, perfect for us.
Great for us.
Great stuff. Sean Arnold looking for another move here. He's side by side with the Williams Esports driver as well, and Brzezinski's just trying to hold on to this position. Arnold then, with a little bit of a nudge there on the exit, a bit of counter steering. Arnold was one who did indeed initiate the contact. He then falls off the track. Brzezinski keeps going up towards turn number 4. They will come up the hill. They will come, holding the brakes there just to not ruin anybody else's race there. Shouldn't have any damage and should hopefully be able to get back through the pack there and grab some positions there, but massive misfortune. And well, the first time that Arnold gets a bit of luck, he gets away from all of the incidents that happen on lap number 1. Ultimately, a little bit of understeer, then into oversteer with the contact, and the misfortune does indeed continue for Sean.
Yeah, it's not great at all, to be honest, in any aspect there. We've got E-Team Brit working their way up the order, just keeping out of the carnage in 18th position. Not spoken about them today, but working their way up, at least trying to score some decent points in the second heat race because of all the calamity for everyone else. And I do think Race Control have an awful lot to look at. Seems like the likes of Luca Lozio, Guile Valero out of the race, Kevin Siggy's definitely out of the race. So big hits for a lot of the big names in this. Apex, like we said, they started out quite strong with that podium in the previous race. Guile Valero might be the second strongest driver for them on the team, but it does mean that Jamie Fluke's going to have to do all of the work in the third heat race if we are to see Apex Racing Team later on today. Of course, they were your winners in the previous round of the season on iRacing.
Yeah, absolutely. So a massive bit of pressure there again. They've got that first result in the bag though, so that's the main thing here. They've got a first decent result in the bag. But you are indeed golden here. As we're looking on board here with P20 then with James Armstrong just down the order here, and there's a lot of sick looking porters there, and not down with the kids sick, just sick as in not looking very well.
So that's sick, mate. No, I don't really know what to respond to that. Are you trying to get really popular and get down with the kids' lingo? Certainly not one for me. Gregor Schill in 6th position, hanging on from Umashima. Before we've got the likes of Carbon Simsport, you've got Virtual Dice by TX3 looking strong once again. Alessandro Ottaviani behind that. You were saying about how good they were going in the previous race inside the top 10. Ottaviani's continuing on that trend as we're seeing a move once again. Malinovsky down the inside of Jakub Charcot, and so he's back up into second spot and he'll try and hunt down Mitchie Tauscher.
Yeah, Hosseini though is now caught up these two because of that, and if he gets an opportunity to make a move, he absolutely will do. I think it should be a rule and a law in the ERL that anyone that has VR has to have big googly eyes stuck onto their VR headset. I've said it there right now. If you agree with me, let me know in the chat right now, but yeah, they should have googly eyes on their headsets.
I agree. No, I agree. Dan Finney, someone in streams on mostly on Racer and stuff. He's got a picture of his own face on the front, like just of his eyes, and I'm like, yeah, no, that'll do as well. If not, googly eyes. It's just something. It can't just be black and boring. You've got to have something there, something arty.
Yeah, 100%. But, you know, I think the overtakes is arty enough for us right now. As we're on board then with Marius. Marius. In P8 right now for Carbon Sim Sports. I'm not allowed to say esports, team Sims Racing, E-Racers, Sim Sport. It's Carbon Sim Sport. They very rightly pointed that out to me the other day. So yeah, Carbon Sim Sport, E-Racers, Unite, whatever they're called at this point. It's in P8, and this is a good result. Again, if they can get a second good result in race number 3, then that could put them up in towards the quarterfinals. As Race Control, who I will give a shout out today, have not only had a lot to do, but they've been so quick with doing it. We've not had any races where we're hanging on or hanging over in terms of incidents, but it is 3 penalty points for Amaya Hosseini then. So I'm not too sure exactly what has happened there. That may be something that happened at the start of this race, but Hosseini there for RHG has got 3 penalty points.
I'm going to assume that's contact with Lozio. That would have been the one coming down into the first corner, because that's obviously where they were quite close to each other in that spot. But either way, 3 penalty points to the team that's running in 4th. They'll still be looking pretty good with a decent result in the previous race. That was Virtual Drivers by TX3 super wide, and that is Ottaviani potentially losing the position to Whitehead as they head up towards the second sector on the circuit. So not a great line, it must be said, but still, you know, if you only lose one, fair enough after quite a costly mistake.
We're seeing a few people in the chat here. Red Luca being the main one. He's so excited. There's a storyline here. Are Redline in danger of not qualifying at this point? Yeah, massive danger. Siggy not in this race anymore. He's got a DNF. And where did they finish in race number 1? Was it P8? Or was it anything a little bit lower than that?
It wasn't strong. It was P9 in the first race. So yes, Redline are at risk right now.
Yeah, they need Enzo Benito, who, if it's anyone you can rely on, it's that beautiful bugger. Yeah, they need to rely on him getting a decent result in race number 3 to progress. But as it stands, it's Unicorns of Love, who I said weren't necessarily the favourites today. And I actually said that Redline would be the favourites just because of the nature of the car. How wrong could I be? And it would not. Again, I've had my correct one in the Spring Cup. I said something correct then. Can't remember what it was. Yeah, always good to me. Always good for me to be a little bit wrong, that's for sure. But yeah, Tauscher first, Malinowski second, Charcot is in 3rd, Hosseini 4th, but it's going to be 7 points instead of the 4 because of that penalty. So RHG, who are comfortably through to our Masters, more than likely, they're still looking relatively good here, but penalty points, when you get later on in the day, you do not want to be grabbing those for sure. Yeah, we did have it pop up on screen. It was a correction to the 3 penalty points. It is actually 6 for Amir Hosseini. So he's gone. It was pretty sizable. I don't know what he did, but I believe that was the contact with Lozio. His mum? What's going on? Either way, harsh penalty. So 6 penalty points, so he'll be dropping essentially to 10 points. So a big hit for RHG. They should still be pretty strong when it comes to moving on to the quarterfinals. But either way, certainly a suboptimal position for them to be in. You've had to chat up someone's mum or sister for you to get 6 penalty points. I can't believe that's happened during this race. But it's happened, so 6 penalty points. That's the most we've ever seen for one driver, I'm sure. Yeah, it was some pretty. We've seen some pretty harsh penalties, at least in the RF2 one, obviously when we were racing at Donington Park at the start of the season. But yeah, sometimes you do have to penalise quite harsh, and that's exactly what has happened. Sean Arnold's trying to work his way back up the order. He's on the rear end of the Brabham esports team at the moment, running at the top end of the circuit. And Sean Arnold for Fordzilla's not able to pass just yet. But obviously, we're feeling pretty aggrieved by what's going on, pretty angry, and we'll feel pretty desperate to get back up the order and get on with things. He's an exceptional driver, is Sean. He's just had so much misfortune. Again, I think this one might be on him a little bit more than the rest of the incidents we've seen so far during the ERL. He will be in and amongst it if he gets a clean run, I can assure you that. We're aboard Luke Whitehead, one of the emerging stars of ACC. We are actually racing on ACC today, as you can see. Yeah, he's one of the emerging stars racing for the GTWR Esports Academy, which are aligned with RHG. Yes. He is from South Africa as well, there's a massive South African contingent on this game. As we see BS, I think, competition in front there. I think that was Gregor Schill having a nice little bit of argy-bargy out in front and picking up a position. Sean Arnold finally gets past then the Brabham car down in towards turn number 1. And this is huge for Brabham as well, because Brabham are currently 11th. So, of course, we're trying to earn money today. There's a championship today where people are trying to win and grab themselves a bit of cash so they can get some beers in this sunny weather here in Europe. But ultimately, they're also trying to qualify for the Masters here. As Lewis, over to you. You can just dissect what's going on right now, because I'm not... No. Yeah, indeed. It's Burst who's just got past, or trying to fend off, rather, Whitehead. In this group, Bianchi has got his way past the Carbon Sim Sports car. That's in the absolute. And you can see Umashima defending up towards the top end of the circuit, the highest point of the track from Luke Whitehead. But you've got Alessandro Ottaviani, you've got Jimmy Antunes, all in this train. This is the final lap of the race. This is the final opportunities for some of
of them to try and make up a couple of very, very important points. No opportunity heading down into the Crocodiles. Umashima's defensive, and there was a bit of a look from the GTWR car of Luke Whitehead. No opportunity there. Back up towards our race leader. Malinovsky's not been able to close in and get past, and so as we leave the final corner in the second heat, it's going to be a second victory for Unicorns of Love. Mitchie Tauscher does it again. Malinovsky across the line in second place with Jakob Charcot in third, meaning that I believe all three of those teams should be looking good to move on to the quarterfinals. A super effort and a super drive for Mitchie Tauscher.
Yeah, Mitchie Tauscher there, following on what we saw from Pfeffer in the first race. Of course, they probably have a curfew of what time they need to go to bed tonight, so they're trying to get this done as early as possible. They've got, exams and stuff, being so young. But yeah, incredible performance so far. Malinovsky held his nerve, got himself back up to P2. A massive result for Yaz Heat, not only for today, but in the landscape of how this competition works out in terms of the Masters, coming up a little bit later on, or next month, should I say. Sharkot, a fantastic job there. And Hosseini, 6 penalty points. It's going to be 10 points whilst finishing in 4th spot. R8G maybe in a little bit of strife, but the big story really is, of course, Unicorns of Love looking absolutely sensational. Team Redline are in a little bit of trouble, and it all comes down to Enzo, that beautiful man Benito.
Wasn't all plain sailing, though. We got word that maybe Mitchie Tauscher had a bit of a moment. Not as dramatic as what he had at Bathurst at the Esports Racing World Cup, but still held on to the victory there. Lewis, straight away, main talking point, R8G, that penalty point, only 6 points clear of the bubble for the Masters qualification coming into this one. They need to make sure that Heat 3, that final heat race, goes well. They don't get in any more trouble.
Yeah, of course, the penalty points affect them here today, not in the overall points. That's just dealt with from a round-to-round basis, which we'll cover a little bit later on. But focusing on the heats themselves, those penalty points will affect them. I don't think they will affect them too much because they had a 4th place finish there. We had a 5th place finish in the first round with that great drive from Erhan Yovsky, plus the 6 penalty points. It's 15 points. Now, to stay in the top 14, I'd say 15 points is looking pretty healthy. It just means in that third race, you're absolutely right. Stay out of trouble. Hey, even drop right the way to the back of the pack and just stay out of it. Just cruise for 10 minutes. Just don't get involved, because if there's one thing they cannot afford is more penalty points. Just do not get into fisticuffs with people.
And on the totally other side to the equation, Team Redline looking good still to make it to the Masters again, but with the drama that Kevin Siggy had, Luke, Enzo Benito's got some work to do.
He certainly does, and this is the nature of this competition. Ultimately, at the start of it, it's not a lottery, but it's just dodging a minefield sometimes. Just keep yourself out of trouble. It's the first time we've seen Siggy actually qualify out of position, if you like. We've never seen him as low as 8th position, right? We may have seen him in the 6th spot when it comes to a final when there's only 6 cars, but that's because obviously everybody's exceptional. We've never seen him that far out of position, and that is what can happen when you're down there. It's not always on you. And also, he was on the apex. He was on the far left-hand side, and he still got caught up with it. So normally, if you can stick to the apex, you can normally keep out of everybody's trouble. But with this car, because everybody's, if they make a mistake, normally they're going to oversteer by just sliding the rear out. If you're on the inside, you're going to get T-boned, and ultimately, that's what happened. But yeah, it's massive. 2 massive names. R8G, who look like they're still going to be okay, and Team Redline struggling here at the early stages of the competition. The door's wide open here for, of course, we see Unicorns of Love. It wouldn't be a surprise win, but the door's wide open for a team like Team Apex to not only have a great season, but be top going into the Masters.
Plenty of chaos to start that race off. We are ready, though, for the final heat of the day. Plenty of talking points, plenty of storyline to keep your eye on. Again, it will be Lewis and Luke as we head back to Kailami.
Yes, indeed. We're looking for the top 14 teams that will move their way through into the quarterfinals. You said it, Luke. If there is one man that you can rely on in esports racing competitions, it's Enzo Benito. When Team Redline needs someone to step up, he certainly has done so. Apex also, they need a bit of a golden charge in this race. And look at that from Jamie Fluke. Been complaining about this quite a bit of the day, not feeling too comfortable. Boom, 4th place, loving it.
Yeah, again, I just think the nature of this car is I just think everybody would have very similar reps compared to what you would have with the iRacing specialist teams going up against the ACC specialist teams when it comes to GT3. The ACC teams are going to have thousands of hours more in the tank as the iRacing or rFactor 2 teams. But with this car specifically, it's a much even playing field because it just really isn't used in many of these or any of the major esports competitions. So yeah, it's a lot easier. Jamie Fluke, I just think he could pedal a unicycle as quick as most people around the world. He's got that much talent.
Yes, indeed. You can see Williams Esports here as well towards the back end of the top 10. Got Marcel Chinchik alongside 7th place. So looking like it's a really strong day for R8G. Had Gianmarco Fiducci in 6th place. Of course, he's more of a racing specialist. Been learning a bit of rFactor 2, learning a bit of this as well. He did quite well in the first round of the season, obviously being touring cars and on rFactor 2, which he's been getting used to. Good to see him inside the top 10 with a 6th place in qualifying here. Going to ask you very quickly as we head round to the final corners, he's your favourite for the race win? Surely it's this man.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to look past that, but I do genuinely believe anybody can win this. I think if Huben can put a bit of pressure down in towards turn number 1, Benito will be forced to give up the spot, and that's when he can then get swamped in the pack behind him. So expect that to happen. Does he go full send and then potentially make a mistake by doing that as well? Who knows? Enzo Benito is a very experienced campaigner, and I'm sure he'll do the very best for his team. Here we go!
Yeah, Redline are currently 17th. They're outside of the quarterfinals. They need a good result here, and Enzo Benito is the man to do it from pole position. Our third and final heat of the day, as we'll get racing once again down towards the Crowthorne, and it is Enzo Benito alongside the GTWR car leading their way down towards the first corner. It was drama on the previous races. It's drama in this one. Heavy onto the brakes. Benito holds the charge, and he holds a lead. Big moment though for Team Brit. Is it going to be into the pack? No, it is not. Arrests it on the brakes before charging into them. A big moment for them, and they'll come to a hold on the inside of the first corner. Team Redline, though, they are leading. They've got that good start they needed, and Enzo Benito needs to check out.
Yeah, I thought that might be a little bit of a bowling moment there. I thought everybody was getting cleaned out. Luckily, the E-Team Brit car is all good and didn't go into anybody else and ruin anybody else's race. But this is the cleanest start we've had so far. Fantastic stuff from everybody here. And yeah, Team Redline, every single week they've got 3 lifelines, right? Because all 3 of the drivers are always going to be exceptional. The BS competition car having a little bit of there is contact between the 2 of them then. So the Burst Esports team and indeed BS competition have had a coming together here, and I think they've taken half the field out. The BS competition, yeah, there we go. So Ibrahim Khan then got himself back the right way around here, but I think that might have been a bit bigger. Yeah, you can see the aftermath here. I think that might have been a bit bigger from what we saw initially there. As we have a look a little bit further down here, we've got Shinjik being overtaken here by the Williams Esports car. And you're really gambling there on the netcode of a racing game by being that close and jumping across the bonnet of them. He pretty much gets what he deserves there in that sequence, to be honest. In real life, of course, you can get away with that because it is literal millimeters. If you're touching, you're touching. If you're not, you're not. In sim racing, you've got to be absolutely bang on with the netcode, so I just wouldn't be taking that many chances there. Just the slightest of contact there, and unfortunately will fall off, and luckily to only lose 2 positions, really.
Yeah, it was a bit of a moment for Sarika. Marcel Chinchik getting into the wars a little bit as he did in the final on the rFactor 2 a few weeks ago. Obviously 4 weeks ago at the start of the season. Here's Koana Gaming. Bauer looking to the inside and moving his way up past Philippa Bakida. And she'll drop down at least 1 position there for the virtual drivers by TX3 Camp. This is Jamie Fluke though. Oh, I'm not very confident on ACC. I'm not very confident in this car. I'll go grab myself a podium. Thank you very much. Apex are on fire in the Summer Cup here in ERL.
Tell you what, Gingers can't go out in the sun, but by God can they drive. Jamie Fluke there producing absolute magic to go up to P3. Little bit of a gap to contend with now, but well, he's got to try and keep Tyskovic behind him, Fiducci behind him, and Bauer, who's got the fastest lap of the race behind him as well. But that was delicious, delightful, and all of the above. Well done, Jamie.
Yeah, super effort. So we've had a bit of drama in this race. It was more so towards the midpoint, obviously coming through this part of the first lap. There's Rory McDuff, Patrick Long Esports behind the Unicorns of Love team. Mlynak behind the wheel. More of an RF2 to iRacing specialist is Mlynak, and of course Rory McDuff is more of an rFactor 2 specialist and a fishing expert apparently, but we won't go into that too much, don't worry. He does love fishing though, and he is presently in 13th position ahead of the likes of Luca Burke, Matt Richards, and Adrian Brow, by the way, who is expecting, we believe Brow is expecting twins today, so we'll keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen during the race, but still, you never know.
Well, him personally?
Yep, him personally, definitely.
Wow, okay, that's a hell of an effort, driving and expecting twins as well. Congratulations on all accounts.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't drive in those conditions, but you know, each their own. But still, doing a good job. Obviously, had that issue on the first lap, but has picked up positions just courtesy of the entire field, having a bit of a moment. Started, I think, 24th on the grid, running up to 16th. Obviously, just picking up the pieces. Why not?
Yeah, and that's the nature of the start of these, the heats, effectively, is just make sure you're threading the needle. Just don't get involved in anybody else's messes, and you're more than likely going to finish in a pretty good position. It's like being in an official race on iRacing. Just finish, and you're going to gain iRacing most of the time. That's just how it works. Just finish, and you gain yourself a spot, because everybody's so desperate. Everybody's so desperate to make overtakes, so desperate to make up time, that they're making mistakes left, right, and centre. And if we're seeing the best of the best make mistakes, i.e. Redline R8G today, anybody can make these mistakes. Put a bit of pressure on. But yeah, fantastic as it stands, though, for the front two. Redline with Enzo Benito doing what he needs to do. I'll actually be having an interview with him this Friday for Send It, the next version of Send It. So yeah, you can look forward to me just drooling over the beautiful man that is Enzo Benito, and that
love him.
Talking about loads of his parts of his career and stuff. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Definitely his career, nothing to do with his personal life.
Wow.
Either way, in the race at hand, I will say, as much as Benito, a bit of a moment there, Jean Lacey Esports Academy trying to get his Blotto, trying to get around, I think that's Dalla at the moment, and wasn't able to do so. But I will say, the top two, whilst they have been doing very well, they have been closed down on Mr. I'm not really a massive fan of this car. It drives very differently than it does elsewhere in sim racing. Of course, Jamie Fluke had the fastest second sector and the fastest third sector on the previous lap, whilst he chases down the top two in this race. So strong right now.
Difficult to chase down the fastest or the front two in this race when P2's just gone and done the fastest lap of the race, and now piling on some severe pressure here to Enzo Benito. Opens up turn number 1/2 up really, really well here as well. Benito then under some serious pressure, and I said this, GTWR have not had a great Summer Cup, but they are much more of an ACC specialist team, so they're not going to qualify for the Masters, but ultimately they can throw the cat amongst the pigeons. They really can spring a surprise and potentially take points away from teams that need to get some to qualify through to our Masters. Simoncic, 3 penalty points then for causing a collision. So again, shout out to Race Control. They are not messing around today, and they are not hanging about in terms of time as well. Getting things done and dusted. But the front battle here, 4 minutes to go, is between Redline and indeed Huben.
Yeah, that issue for Simoncic was obviously contact between himself and Ibrahim Khan into that section. Have just gone through the S's as they head up towards the highest part of the circuit. So clearly, like I say, bit of drama. Race Control not wasting any time in dealing with it. They've been super today. They've had an awful lot to look at, but they've not been resting, not been waiting, been charging straight on. Gotta love it. And I'm all for it. Some people like sometimes Race Control's a little bit too harsh. If you've made an issue, sometimes you've got to pay the price for it. Maybe sometimes it's not too harsh, sometimes it's too harsh, who knows, but that's Race Control's decision. They've got so much that they can see in these incidents. They look over everything with a fine-tooth comb, and they've been doing a super job today. Top two, though, Benito and Huben looking very strong right now, and the GTWR Esports team are applying all of the pressure to a Team Redline that is very much in need of a good result here.
Yeah, they have to. A P1, I think a top 3 would be still pretty much good enough, to be honest with you. But P1, just keep yourself out of trouble, then you haven't got to worry about anyone else, have you? You've got no one in front of you that's to worry about making mistakes. But right now, Huben with his GTWR team is piling on that pressure. And Enzo Benito, it's just all about whether he can indeed hold on. Jamie Fluke would love these two to have a little bit of a ding-dong, get himself involved in a potential battle for the lead. But again, I think it's going to be enough for P3 here. Tajskovic is really not the big surprise, let's say. But Triton, again, looking pretty good. They're just outside. They are the bubble position. They are 13th in terms of the Masters. And like you said earlier on, you spoke to a couple of their drivers, and they felt like they were pretty quick. And they're proving it right now. This is the hardest stage. Once you get through to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and then the final, there's less cars to contend with. Everybody's on a bit more of a similar pace as well. So if you make a mistake, you're kind of done and dusted. You're not having to fight through the slower cars, if you like. So it becomes, I would say, harder, but also easier in terms of just negotiating the race circuit. So get yourself through this stage, and the big dog are seemingly able to do so.
I'm going to say, I think Triton actually might be the big team to take on Unicorns of Love today. Keep an eye on them. Might well be Apex. I'm not so sure about Redline, but definitely keep an eye on Triton today. They're in need of points in the overall. They're in superb form here on ACC. They've won countless high-level competitions on the platform, and they were a couple of years ago the national Polish champions in esports on AC. They are an incredible team to keep an eye on, and they very much like this neck of the woods forwards in sim racing. Someone who's not a massive fan of it right now. Florian Bauer under a lot of pressure. Here comes GTWR though, trying to go on the attack. It's Nick Howman trying to get to the outside of Enzo Benito, sending it around into the first braking zone. The big up and under. That was a super move, and he's fully alongside it. GTWR going to try and take the lead here, coming up towards Barbecue, trying the up and under once again, but Enzo Benito's a wily old fox and hangs on for now as they race their way towards sunset.
Incredible stuff here. Enzo Benito just about hangs on as we've got Jamie Fluke catching up, Tyskovic catching up here as well. Could potentially be a four-way battle at the end of this race, and I think Enzo Benito has not only just hung on, but he's got himself a big enough gap here to be able to defend for the next part of the circuit. And actually Jamie Fluke could be the car that gets involved for a potential P2. Halfway round the final corner we go. We've got one penalty coming up on your screen then. 3 penalty points for number 15 for avoidable contact there. That's R8G again. So R8G picking up more penalty points here. So the day getting worse and worse and worse for the R8G team. But it's still that frantic battle at the front here. Can the GTWR team go out there and get a victory here?
Yeah, that penalty, of course, would have been in this section of the racetrack when he made contact with Moreno Sirica. So those were the issues for Marcel Chinchik, and it's another penalty point bit for him to pick up this season. Had a few on the RF2 day 4 weeks ago, but focusing on the battle at hand. Final lap of this race. Enzo Benito for Team Redline looking to pick up yet another podium, yet another win. Jamie Fluke's got a bit to worry about with Mateusz Tuskovic directly behind. Final corner to tick off. Albin's not been able to do anything. And of course, when Team Redline need him the most, Enzo Benito delivers once again at Kyle Army. Enzo Benito is on top. GTWR are behind, and then Jamie Fluke in third spot. A super drive for the Apex Racing team, and another team to look to book their place in the quarterfinals. Matteo Blotto, though, for Jean Lacey Esports Academy, trying to get past the Butler Power car. Big kick of oversteer off the final corner. He's not dropped back into Martinez for the Aspar Racing team, but super effort. We can see plenty of damaged cars coming across the line. Arjuna, what do you make of that one? It was a bit chaos out there in the middle of the first lap.
The main thing I picked up on is Benito and Fluke in our most valuable driver standings. Now, the only 2 drivers to have scored a podium across of all 3 of our platforms, as my camera decides it wants to go F. Plenty of drivers had similar sort of issues like that one though, Lewis.
That is a big calamity there for Arjuna. He is our host, but he is unfortunately incompetent, so it's fine. Each their own. Super drive, though, from Enzo Benito, again, when they need it most. Same with Jamie Fluke. Apex, after the issues for Valero in the previous race, we were kind of saying that maybe Valero was their second strongest driver on this platform, and yet still, coming into this race, Fluke needed to deliver, and of course he did.
Jamie Fluke, no track maps behind him. He doesn't seem to need that. We wait for final confirmations on results. We'll get them to you as soon as we have them. But R8G, I said it earlier, Luke, all they had to do was stay out of trouble. They should still qualify for the quarterfinals. It's not without any sort of stress, though.
Yeah, I think they're going to be okay. But yeah, this is the hardest fought it will be to go through at this stage. I think the lucky thing for them is that there's no points awarded at this stage. So effectively, if you get through to the next to the quarterfinals, it's a clean slate again, right? That's where the points have started to be handed out as well once you get knocked out of that phase. So as Arjuna disappears once again, I don't think he likes us, Lewis, at this point.
He hates it. It's the heat.
I'm disappointed.
He hates us.
Yeah, he's not even in the Europe right now because nowhere else in the world's hot right now. It's just Europe. And he's disappearing. I can't even hear him now. That's the best worst thing about the situation.
I'm still here. It's just that my colorful Luke Crane style shirt is too much for my camera to handle. I tell you what, since my camera doesn't want to play nice, we're going to talk to you about something that's very nice to be having back in the VCO world. For almost 70 plus episodes, the VCO Esports Studio talked to those across the world in motorsports about the world of sim racing, and it's back with Ben Constanduris behind the wheel. Here's a sneak peek of yesterday's episode with the Apex Racing team manager, Alex Simpson.
In the last 6 months, it's going to be quite tricky for us to catch up. Well, from my side, I've had a baby, I've moved house, and so that took a bit of time to get the studio back up and running. And in the world of sim racing, so much has happened, including our VCO Esports Racing League and so many other races, so many other Grand Slams and special events. But there's one thing that's really I've taken a lot of notice on, and that is the rise of tonight's special guest and the team in which he founded and runs. This evening, we are joined by Alex Simpson of Apex Racing Team. The Esports Racing League and all of its various counterparts have been absolutely dominated so far by Team Redline. But that all changed thanks to this man, this team, and that event. Alex, great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us on our brand new live version of VCO Studio. Firstly, let's talk about that success and how important that particular success has been to you.
Yeah, hello Ben, good to be here. No pressure, first one back live for me, thank you. I mean, I got to correct you straight away. You said, it's somewhat to do with me, and really it wasn't, it's the drivers. They were the ones that have put all the hard work in over this past sort of 12, 18 months and been knocking on the door of the top teams and trying to basically knock them off their pedestal. There's a few teams out there that we look up to in terms of trying to be as competitive, always have done since the very creation of Apex back in 2012. Redline were there back in the day, and Quanda were there as My3ID back in the day. Those were the teams that we looked up to and wanted to aspire to beat, essentially. And it's great that, it's taken 10 years, but we're here there now, and I think it's pretty clear to see that we're going to keep pushing and try and take those top steps the most we can.
Is it something that you've recognised within the organisation that everything has stepped up to a point where you are able to fight with Redline? Is it obvious to you from the behaviour of your drivers, from the way that you have kind of formulated the team and the way that you've pushed your facilities and the way that you look after the team?
Well, I think there was a bit of an ethos change maybe back in 2018. We're all at the Sim Racing Expo. We had a big plan to basically see how we could push the team on into a new direction. Specifically for the drivers, it was all about becoming full-time professional sim racers. How is it possible? What do we need to achieve to do that? And that's really where we kind of changed our mindset, and we were like, right, it's no longer are we playing a game. We wanted to take this as seriously as we absolutely could. And I think that's kind of what's made the difference, is this just big shift in our sort of mindset. Everything we do now is, I don't want to say it's micromanaged, but everything is kind of looked at and reviewed, debriefed. How can we improve? What mistakes did we make? Even on like the Daytona race, for example, where we won this year's 24-hour race, there was a big long review. We picked up a load of points that we can improve on, because if those mistakes are still there, then there's the chance that we might not win the next one. So this constant evolution in kind of our mindset and how what you need to do to beat these teams. They are so good.
I mean, I think you already have got a huge level above so many other teams, and performance-wise doing so well, and so many different aspects to Apex, which seems to be working very well. Alex, thank you so much for your time. It's great to speak with you, and thank you for being number one guest on the new live version of VCO Studio.
Thank you.
The plan is that we'll be here every Tuesday evening, 7 o'clock local time in Europe, and we will bring you the very biggest and very best guests from the world of sim racing, with myself, Ben Constanduris, once more at the helm of the VCO Esports Studio. Until next time, though, enjoy your sim racing. Bye-bye.
Great to have Ben back with us at VCO and bringing the esports studio back to you guys. Tuesday nights, join us, of course, on the VCO esports social media for all of the fun, who will join Ben next time out. We're getting ready for the quarterfinals. We're still waiting, though, for the heat races to be completely tabulated. Race control still has plenty to do. And Luke, heading out of last time out on iRacing at Road America, where, yes, like you said, there were a couple of trouble spots, we'll put it that way. Race control, I've had to be much, much busier today. Why is that? Maybe the car you can get away with a little bit more bumper banging.
I think it will be just a case of from P1 down to P27, however many cars are in each race, the gap's going to be smaller. With the IndyCar cars, the gap's a lot bigger because it's I'm not saying it's harder to control, but it's just so much different to like normal tin top. Most of our cars we use are tin top GT cars, but obviously we've gone for a real difference this time round, the Indy car is just, albeit the best car in iRacing, in my opinion, it's a very, very tough one to tame, especially around a road circuit. So I think that's why we're seeing a little bit more, because everyone's a little bit closer.
I'm enjoying it. It's good when cars are closer, albeit sometimes you want it to happen with a little bit more respect. Lewis, in your mind, we think that RAG and Redline have advanced. We're still waiting for that confirmation. But who struggled the most for you as we switch things up here today?
I don't know, like about struggling. So it's a bit too early because obviously when you've got the 3 cars, it's kind of 3 drivers split across the heats. It kind of changes with the struggles because if your one driver's doing quite well, then they're at the front where they need to be. Redline being a true example of that, being down towards the back end of the top 10 for 2 races and then right at the front for the 3rd one. It's just how it goes in this level. We'll start to see who's struggling when we'll see them all out on circuit together in the quarters and of course if they get their way to the semis. A couple of teams though that won't be progressing, even though I feel kind of a bit bad, but Jean Lace Esports Academy, that is a bit rough because they have had the pace to progress, but obviously with that issue on the 2nd race start, they're out of it, and really through no major fault of their own. It's just how it goes. That is a massive shame. A couple of other teams that might be a bit far down on there. Carbon Simsport, they're an ACC specialist team. They're, I don't believe, inside the top 14. So there are a couple of heavy hitters, or kind of heavy hitters, that are out already. Some that might sneak their way even into the semis, already pushed by the wayside. But for the major favourites, for me, they're already working their way through.
I'm watching live as Race Control is tabulating the results right now. I don't know if these are final or not, but the one thing that stands out for me currently provisionally, a tie for 14th place. And Luke, this is something you were a big proponent of when we started this journey with the Esports Racing World Cup. The first tiebreaker now is penalty points rather than the best finishing position. And I can tell you if these provisional results hold as they are, it's going to be penalty points that decide an impressive team missing out on working forward to the quarterfinals. It's why we say all the time, stay out of trouble, especially if you're that 3rd driver.
Yeah, I think it's the best way forward. It keeps It's another method of trying to keep these races nice and clean as well, because obviously you don't want to be in that tied position. A few of the top teams will feel like, well, we're never going to be in that position anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I think we're going to find out that one of them are in that position, and it could be the case that they've been costed here because of that. But yeah, normally it's done on count back in terms of results. That's the second cause of our tiebreak as well. So yeah, I think this is the best way forward, and if we're going to see it come into effect for the first time, it might be more of a deterrent for other drivers or other teams to race as aggressively as they may do.
Well, while we give Race Control the final moments to just make sure they've dotted the I's and crossed the T's, something else exciting to mention here on VCO Esports. If you want to take your racing to the next level, well, Next Level Racing is the official cockpit partner of VCO Esports. And the great thing is, it's not just a long-term partnership to benefit both, but to benefit you as well. If you want to win one of the Next Level Racing gaming chairs, just head over to twitch.tv/VCO Esports and enter Next Level Racing. into the chat to be entered into the giveaway. Always great to have new partnerships, to have new friends join the party. Next Level Racing, very committed to the sim racing world. They do events for the community here on RaceBot TV. They're also partners with Jim Beaver Esports, and you'll see their jumpy trucks tonight in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Delighted to have Next Level Racing join the VCO family. But we're almost getting ready for the quarterfinals. Race Control still having to coordinate with the drivers to make sure that we head to the right place. Lewis, I'll bring this back round to you, though. As we get to the almost past the halfway marker on the road to the Esports Racing World Cup, lots of teams, lots of drivers figuring out plenty about how they want to make things happen. Each of these cups with a slightly different focus means that you build your roster slightly differently. As we head to iRacing next time out, we know what the cars are, the teams know what the cars are, our viewers don't know just yet, but in your mind, how do you think about potential partnerships with those around you in this competition?
Yeah, it's tricky because you can't just go out there and make friends with everyone. All right? That's not how racing works, and to be fair, sometimes you don't want to. You want to chart your own path, especially if you know you're a strong team. It's more so about those that are struggling at the moment, that aren't quite finding the pace across all three platforms. Those are the ones that will be feeling quite concerned at the moment. Even if they're in the back end of the top 12 heading into the Masters this season, or they might be looking a bit stronger next season, those are going to be feeling uncomfortable. For the likes of Apex, who were feeling very uncomfortable in the Spring Cup, well, they'll be feeling a lot better now, and that is even if the Masters is successful or not. They'll be looking stronger next season. They're building their way up, and they're going to be a serious contender coming into ERWC II next year. It's kind of that thing of teams just learning the platforms as they go, getting stronger and stronger. And have you noticed how we've got plenty of teams now that can actually battle it out on all three platforms? It's not just Team Redline anymore. We know that Unicorns of Love can really do it. As much as they have struggled this season, they can really do it. Now Apex can do it. Brand new team in Koana Gaming, hello. They can fight their way right at the front on all three platforms. Less so here on ACC, but still, I'd expect them to come out quite strong a bit later on.
Koana, very, very similar in terms of name, but we have seen plenty of strong performances from Koana on rFactor 2 as well as iRacing. They've been struggling a little bit more here today. But as we look forward, Luke, I put to you, Esports Racing World Cup 2022. We had 25 plus teams. Esports Racing World Cup 2023, 12 teams will be on the agenda. What changes for you as we look forward to what's hopefully an in-person event next February?
Well, German beers is the first thing that's going to be a lot different. Last time I was drinking during a broadcast, it was just English beers. But this time it'll be steins of all the local beer. So that's the biggest change for me personally. But yeah, like Lewis has mentioned a couple of times, if you have a crash with someone on the racetrack, when you're at home, you can maybe shout at them on Discord or be in a voice chat, but there's no real jeopardy. I'm not saying that people are going to come flying out and beat each other up or anything like that, but I'm telling you right now, if you're getting in an argument with Sean Arnold, you're not going to tell him to his face. That was pretty rude what he did to me there. You'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine, you crack on, you do it. It's a whole different commodity when you're face to face with people, and also that can make a driver. That added extra pressure can make a driver, or it could break them. I follow Call of Duty esports, and you'll see people being called onliners a lot, where the league's been online for such a long time now. And then when it goes to LAN, just some of these top-level cracked people, unfortunately, just crumble when it comes to the live LAN event with a crowd in front of them as well. So yeah, it's just a whole different commodity. But the teams like Redline who've been there, done it, RHG, albeit not actually as their team, but the drivers behind the team now, they've all been there, done it. Like the big teams will be able to cope with that better than most, but then you will get that one or two newer teams that have never experienced it, but that is just like, oh, okay, I like this feels really good, and you never know until you get into that position. And that's the same for us as commentators as well, remember? Like, you've all done LAN events, I'm sure, before, right? And like, some people sink and some people swim. I've worked with people who just instantly just shrivel up into their shell. They're like, oh my God, this is so different. So it works throughout the whole broadcast as well. So yeah, I know exactly how it feels in terms of nerves just by being a caster.
I'd be terrified alongside you, mate. Don't worry.
Moritz Lohner has mentioned just how much he missed the LAN events over the last couple of years. It's very much the environment that drivers will thrive in, drivers will struggle in. Well, we're getting ready for the quarterfinals. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments' time with 2 quarterfinals coming up next on VCO Esports. Well, it's all been figured out finally, qualifying for the quarterfinals. Moments away from getting underway, and I will correct myself as well for something that I mentioned earlier. You do know what the cars are for the full cup of this Esports Racing League. It's going to be very exciting. iRacing, the focus becomes on the iRacing Formula 4. The ACC car of choice will be a BMW M2 CS Racing Cup, and of course we'll go to the stock car Brazils on rFactor 2.
Turn your camera off, Arjuna. Red Luca, come and get involved. God. Right. You're a joke, Arjuna, at this point.
Before we get to the quarterfinals, let's break it down and let's see how it is. When you look at the points, the thing that strikes me, Koana Gaming, so impressive on iRacing, on rFactor 2, tied with the Absolute Motorsport Assetto Sim Racing team, though, at the end of the quarterfinals. It's penalty points that see us wave goodbye to Koana.
Yeah, it's not great for them at all then down in P15, but it's the penalty points that have cost them as well. So it is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. Absolute Motorsport, by keeping it clean, have been rewarded by being in that top 14. And really now it's kind of like, is this as far as we can go here? Or, you know, can we, like I watch a lot of cricket, when someone gets caught and then dropped, that batter normally then goes on and scores loads more points. Can that be the same for Absolute Motorsport here? Take that opportunity that's been handed to you and run with it.
Lewis, I'll start with coming to you first for a prediction for quarterfinal number 1.
Okay, I'm going Unicorns of Love are moving. Oh, see, Ian, this is a bit tricky. So Unicorns of Love are moving through. I think Team Redline will move through. The third spot is a little bit more up in the air. Yazhi, or for me, Virtual Drivers by TX3, who have looked quite strong today, but I've got to go for Yazhi. I know they've only got 2 cars, but we know how strong those 2 are.
And Luke, I'll give you what might be slightly easier, quarterfinal number 2.
Okay, well, I was first of all going to say that Unicorns of Love and Yazhi will fly through there, and I think it'll be between BS and Redline. I think Redline might potentially be going out in the quarterfinals. But yeah, for this second race, I think GTWR will sail through here. I think RHG are going to be good as well. And then I think it's a bit of a lottery there, to be honest with you. I think Apex have been brilliant today so far. Can they keep that consistency? Again, Jamie Fluke saying earlier on, that, or to you, Arjuna, that they weren't feeling that comfortable. You know, has it been, for the lack of a better term, a fluke so far? I'm not sure it has been, so maybe they're the favourites to go through as well. But yeah, I think we're just going to see a whole different matchup. It's going to be a completely different lineup to what we've seen before.
Well, there is only one way to find out. Of course, we're going to extend the race time up to 12 minutes. I'm stepping aside this time. We're heading straight into quarterfinal number 1. Arjuna and Luke are going to talk you all the way through it.
Well, it's qualifying time, and all drivers on track for the teams as they spin themselves up to advance to the semi-finals in the final regular round of this Esports Racing League Summer Cup. Currently, it's Tobias Pfeffer at the top, but the time's yet to come in. You got to work as a team here. It's a little bit different to how those heats played out, Luke.
Yeah, 100%. You've got all of your team in the one race now. I think that the most important thing here is Yazhi. They've only got 2 drivers, and that can be it's been a hindrance more than anything when teams have had only 2 drivers. Yazhi being the most predominant in that fact, actually. But also, it can be a positive, because if you've got 2 drivers that qualify relatively well, it means that your 3rd driver isn't going to impede you with penalty points. We've already seen a penalty points have cost Koana big time so far this season, or this event specifically. So yeah, is it necessarily a bad thing having only 2 drivers? Yeah, not in every aspect.
I'm delighted that we have Koana on the grid, don't get me wrong. They have been a standout so far in this Summer Cup, but when I heard that we had Koana, forgive me, I thought we had Koanda, maybe slightly because we're racing in this Porsche 911 Cup car. Of course, Koanda, now the official Porsche Esports Work Factory Sim Racing team. What a mouthful that is. Mitchie Tauscher's got some work to do. Down in 9th with his first qualifying attempt, has got to work his way forward. Pfeffer's up the front. Where's that 3rd Unicorns of Love entry, at least for the time being, with Milnek? Where is he? But right behind Tauscher. 1 up front, 2 inside the top 10. Not looking terrible for the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, 3 cars in the top 10, you're pretty much golden, right? You don't have to worry about anybody else. I think Kevin Siggy definitely was out of position when it came to his first qualifying today in the heats. He's currently in 2nd spot. Valentin Barrier, TX3. He has been the standout driver for TX3 today, but they got Ottaviani as well. So those 2 together, can they indeed produce a bit of magic here? And realistically, for teams like TX3, for them to go through, they kind of need all of the Unicorns of Love team to be up there in the top sort of top 6, top 7 to take away points from everybody else, because that means that they've got a bigger chance of going through via their 2 top drivers. So they want the at least one team who are the favourites to be absolutely dominating with all 3 of their team.
That's Elvin Smith in the Rocket SimSport 338, all black. But here's the actual livery. Luca Burke also struggling in 19th position as he winds himself out of the final corner to get his one and only qualifying attempt onto the board. Luca Burke only goes up to 18th for the Rocket SimSport team, struggles in qualifying. 13th, 18th, and 19th, not the way that you want to build up BS competition. Ibrahim Khan struggling as well in the qualifying trim. What a camera angle that is. I know you love camera angles like this.
I don't know what that is. It's kind of like my sim rig's in the top bunk of my bunk beds and my camera's now below on a table next to me. I'm not sure what that is, but it's a camera angle.
It is a camera angle indeed. The car running a little bit wide and sideways as it works through the middle portion of the lap for Ibrahim Khan. Here comes the Yas Heat number 992 as he works his way towards the end of the lap. Is up on the lap time as well. Malinovsky's in 7th, Datsenko in 9th as the Unicorns of Love go 1-2. Tobias Pfeffer, Mitchie Tauscher work their way to the front. Gregor Schill for BS competition sits in 3rd as Malinovsky comes to the line with Milnek behind him as well. Malinovsky does not improve. Pfeffer's got even faster.
Yeah, Malinovsky's 4th. So he's got up to 4th position there from 8th, so he did get his better lap time. And Philippa Bakita up to P5 as well, which is a really good performance as well. Valentin Barriere P6 as it stands. Then we've got Antunes in 7th position. Then we've got Siggy currently in P8. But yes, Yas Heat have got one of their drivers, or should I say Yas Heat, one of their drivers up into that top 4. But again, Unicorns of Love qualified superbly well. It looks like it could be safe passage through towards the semi-finals, and don't give them safe passage through to a semi-final. They're a scary team on ACC. At least make it difficult for them. Whether anyone can do that in the race, I'm not too sure.
It's looking good for the Unicorns of Love. Maybe not terrible for BS competition. Gregor Schill's up there, needs support from Rivo and Khan, who are only 16th and 18th, so there is some work for them to do. And the BS competition lineup for today, Lewis, is maybe not the one that you would have expected, given that they've got the likes of Niels Naujoks that could have joined the fun as well.
No, but they obviously have made their format, their team, more based around going strong on rFactor 2 rather than here on ACC. If we were talking about the Spring Cup, then of course you want to bring out your 3 ACC heavyweights, but here Jonas Rivio and Ibrahim Khan, there are Factor 2 specialists, so kind of makes sense, but still Gregor Schill's there to try and not just fill the numbers but try and get some good results for the team. I'm going to instantly correct you, by the way, because when you were saying about the cars for next season, Arjuna, you said Stock Car Brazil.
I know.
I'm not so sure that there is one on our Factor team, mate.
I was thinking iRacing.
Planet.
Yep, no, I was thinking iRacing. It's been an interesting day. I've got 7 or so hours of broadcasting day. There's going to be plenty of mistakes, that's for sure.
Got to correct you every time I can, Arjuna. But either way, the race is about to get underway. Unicorns of Love are well in control, but that was in qualifying, not the race. That is about to get underway. 12 minutes of action once again here at Kyle Army.
And if Lewis is going to throw me under the bus, well, he'll join me there. It's not the Apex Racing team, apparently, according to Lewis McLeod. It's the Apex Hunters United entry. However, we'll see them in quarterfinal number 2. Right now, we get set to advance 3 teams to our semi-finals in this Esports Racing League Summer Cup round on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Unicorns of Love lock out the front row with Schill and Malinovsky for BS competition, and Yas Heat behind them. Virtual Drivers by TX3 locking out row 3 as they look to advance as well. And then you get the team Redline. Siggy, Benito share 8th and 9th positions. You got some drivers out of position. You've got the likes of Virtual Drivers by TX3, Luke, that are looking to try and take advantage here today.
Yeah, 100%, and they basically have to. It's not a case of anything else. They have to go out there and perform. And also, what environment am I in right now? I've just got my 2 fellow co-commentators, hosts, making mistakes left, right, and centre. I have to get Florian to sack you both at this rate. You wouldn't catch me making mistakes in a broadcast ever. Right, down to the races then. It is Unicorns of Love, P1, P2. They're looking pretty golden here. Gregor Schill needs some help, as you very rightly pointed out, which is a first for today. Yeah, the other 2 drivers are not anywhere near the front here, which does open up the opportunity for a team such as TX3. Oh, comes down to this, Arjuna. Take it away.
And remember, with the heats, the drivers are split out into their own races. Now they know what they've got to do. There's no waiting to see till the final heat what the results they're going to need to get them through. It's about delivering here today with 12 minutes on the clock. Quarterfinal number 1 at Kailami is ready to get underway. Unicorns of Love in control with Pfeffer and Tauscher on the front row of the grid. It's a long hold once more as we get in towards the starting zone. Pfeffer in control, Tauscher alongside. Green flags out. We're racing at Kailami. It's a good start from Pfeffer. Maybe a little bit slow from Tauscher though as he goes defensive. Malinovsky trying to look around to his outside. Shield diving back and forth. Maybe trying to move to the inside. But the Unicorns of Love roadblock continues to roll on through, but around the outside, what a move from Tauscher.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff there, actually. Tauscher now is going to take the lead, but the most interesting factor here is the battle for what would be P3. Oh, massive bit of oversteer there for the BS competition car. That should give the Yaz Heat car then of Malinovsky P3 as we head then... Well, no, what's happened to the Yaz Heat car? No, he's dropped miles back here. So Malinovsky now down to P7 here. Elvis Smith in the Rocket Sim Sport car just in behind as well. Although I feel like that... no, it's an all-black car, isn't it? The livery's not been loaded onto that car by the looks of things then. Oh, nearly big contact there. Malinovsky nearly getting sent back once again a bit further back down. The TX3 cars here, who ironically are not fighting for the lead of this race, but they're not in a bad spot here. The Arnage competition car getting involved here as well, just a bit further back. And then you've got the first of the Redline cars getting involved here. Redline really are in a bit of struggle territory. As the TX3, I think, may have just taken out another TX3 car. I'm not too sure what's happened there, but I think there might have been 2 cars taken out. There's Jeffrey Rietveld of Redline, who's facing the wrong way. He will be at the back of the grid here. And wow, this is super, super interesting stuff.
Jimmy Antunes in the meat of a Porsche sandwich. Look around them, almost 4 wide on the run down in towards that final sector of the lap. What a promising start it was for the virtual drivers by TX3. It's sliding out of their control at this point in time through the final couple of corners. Running wide is one of those all-black machines who had an absolute lunge down the inside and in fact might just have forced Enzo Benito all sorts of wide. Benito will slide backwards. Tauscher and Pfeffer come comfortably at the front of the field. The Hornet's Nest just inside of the top 10, looking backwards from Antunes side by side into turn number 2.
Yeah, Bokita trying to make a move up the inside here of Elvin Smith, the TX3 car. They've got a Redline car trying to come through as well of Enzo Benito. He's been overtaken now by Statsenko, the second of the Yaz Heat cars. And now there's contact between Elvin Smith and Bokita. Bokita runs off circuit, comes back on then up towards turn 4. More contact between the two of them. Elvin Smith then sent to the shallow rail. Philippa Bokita across the circuit. The second Yaz Heat car's been completely cleaned out. Elvin Smith's been cleaned out. Enzo Benito has been cleaned out there. And while the battle between Bokita and Elvin Smith, it was just scrappy to say the very least. Maybe 4 bits of contact before they finally both then succumb to the pressure. And realistically, you've got to be looking at both drivers there thinking, come on, make some space for each other, give each other a bit more respect, and ultimately you're both still in this race.
Well, say goodbye to Team Redline. For the first time, it does not look as though they'll make it to the finals. They won't even make it to the semi-finals as it stands. It started, though, on the start with Jonas Rivo in the BS competition car being spun around. But in these opening 3 minutes of quarterfinals number 1, we've had all sorts of chaos. The virtual drivers by TX3 sliding backwards, and Yaz Heat with only 2 shots in the barrel. One driver missing in action today. Well, one driver running well, Malinovsky up the field, Statsenko all the way down in 15th.
Tell you what, I still think Siggy is giving Redline a chance of going through here. Top 3 go through, right? Benito 14th. Between them, that's 18 points right now. You've got to feel there's going to be penalty points given to other teams as well. So Unicorns of Love looking absolutely delicious right now. BS competition, what position are they in right now? P3 and where's the nearest car for them? 10th. So their BS are looking good as well. And actually, coming to think of it, it looks like it might be TX3 that are in a good spot here then. So they've got Valentin Barriere in P6, and then they've got Ottaviani in P9. So Redline in massive danger here at going out of our quarterfinal stage, which would be a first ever in the ERL.
We will let our monkey behind the scenes, Lewis McLeod, help us do the mental math. Never trust the commentators' math. Maybe you can trust them a little bit more when they aren't having to talk and do nonsense as well. On board with Ottaviani, we look up the field though. Here's the pressure from behind. Kevin Siggy trying to give Enzo Benito a chance to try and work his way forward. Siggy all over the back of Malinovsky. Nothing doing just yet.
Malinovsky's made the move, he's up to P4, so the Yaz Heat drivers made the move on Siggy, and moves up the order here, which is massive for Yaz Heat, and it puts even more pressure on Redline, and Benito making up some positions.
So provisionally, as it runs right now, it seems as though Unicorns of Love, Yasheet, and BS Competition would be the cars going through. Excuse me, Yasheet, that was a typo on the screen that I had right now. It would be Virtual Drivers by TX3 and BS Competition. I do apologize.
Yeah,
plenty of action.
Commentator. Sometimes they're right, Arjuna.
Plenty of action going on, and my brain is absolutely scrambled right now. I feel like we always say this, Luke, it gets more physical as we go on through, but you see this here now, it can't get more physical than this.
Oh, this is great stuff. And again, apart from the Elvin Smith and Bokida incident, where also you've got to look into the ping as well of Bokida, that might have been a factor there in all fairness to them. But 4 different types of contact, like in the space of 3 corners, you've got to look at both drivers there and go, come on, you've got to figure stuff out a little bit better than that. But for the most part, it's just been individual errors. It's not really been a case of being a crazy, set of affairs where people have been driving recklessly. It's just been people making mistakes, and that's the nature of this car. We're on board with Ottaviani. If Ottaviani could gain 1 more position here and take Luca Burke out from P8, it just puts TX3 in such a good position. And Burke has not hit any apexes in the first 4 corners here, maybe struggling already with the tyres. Tyres go off so quick with this car.
It is a brutal machine to control. Ottaviani still just searching for a lane to run through as they sweep their way through Sunset on the run down into Clubhouse. He's had a look to the inside. This time will pressure the Rocket Simsport car to run a little bit tighter as they sweep down in towards the S's, almost side by side. Ottaviani with a great run in towards turn number 8. He'll get it down to the inside. A bit of contact. Ottaviani scrambling to bring it back under control. Ibrahim Khan joins the party and slides his way up into 10th.
Ibrahim Khan there saying thank you very much indeed. This is a very late move there back from Ottaviani. That looked reckless, but it was beautiful. A great bit of driving then. Again, we'll overheat the tyres for sure. And wow, straight back up then into what would be P9. Ibrahim Khan trying to find a gap through the inside. This corner's far too quick to slide one up the inside. There's no real braking there. Now set yourself up for the right-hander. Do not leave yourself open to a move up the inside. And as you can see here, Ibrahim Khan looking to retake that position. But with Gregor Schill currently in P3, surely they're in contact with each other right now, and it's just like, hold your position, don't do anything stupid here, do not cost us the chance of going through, because also there's massive points on offer in terms of the Masters, of course, but also the overall getting through to the World Cup, which BS did not have the greatest Spring Cups, remember, so this is vital that they get as far and as deep in this specific competition as possible.
David Toth, the Hungarian, will lunge down the inside on Ibrahim Khan as he tries to work Arnage Competition into some sort of an equation to make it happen. In fact, that might be crucial. An additional point going the way of Arnage brings the gap down to potentially 1 or 2 points to the Virtual Drivers by TX3. And so now with David Toth tucked up behind Ottaviani, that's a move that might determine who transfers directly to the semi-finals with about 4 minutes 20 seconds left to run in quarterfinal number 1.
As it stands, and Arjuna will probably argue that I'm wrong again, but as it stands then it is going to be Unicorns of Love, it's going to be BS Competition and TX3 that would go 3. Jeffrey Reed then has got 6 penalty points as well for an unsafe rejoin, and definitely must have texted someone's sister as well from the race director's crew, because that is a big old penalty, and that all but seals Redline's fate. It will be them out of the competition for today, and a massive opportunity now for Apex. Apex have to go at least get through to the semi-finals, and they will be your leaders going into the Masters of the Summer Cup.
It's close. BS Competition sits on 14 points, TX3 15, Arnage 17. 2 positions, that's all it's going to take. Ottaviani passed by Toth brings it down to 1 point. So you really get the idea. If Antunes can close up to Valentin Barriere, more opportunities. The only team that's comfortable...
Well, no, Toth can do it. Toth can overtake Ottaviani here, and that is enough. So that would switch them by 1 point.
Right.
It's a 2-point swing.
No, at that point, they're tied on points, right? And
but positions and on who's ahead.
Right. And that's where Virtual Drivers by TX3 and Valentin Barriere has 6th in front of Jimmy Antunes, so it would still be Virtual Drivers going on through. Look at how much control of the wheel that David Toth is having right now. Back and forth, almost 180 degrees, right hand down into a left-hand corner. You can tell how hard he's pushing. A little bit wide, though, through the corner, stays out of the grass.
Sorry, I got really excited there, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're as excited as I am right now, type Next Level Racing into the Twitch chat. Next Level Racing, all one word, no exclamation mark, and you could win yourself. You can win yourself a rig, a sim racing rig. So yeah, it's free.
No. gaming chair. Let's not set false expectations out. Yes, gaming chair, not a full rig. Florian is like, make sure I didn't give my credit card details to Luke Crane. Through the S's they go once more. Still no change in terms of positions. Unicorns of Love comfortable. BS competition as well as virtual drivers on the bubble. And Arnage competition on the outside looking in. David Toth has got to know that with 2 minutes left to go, he's got to go now or never.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down to this here. How close is Valentin Barriere and the Jimmy Antunes? Antunes being 3 seconds behind. It's not. Yeah, okay. They're looking pretty good here at TX3. Just need to keep their cool and not make any mistakes. 1 minute 50 seconds left on the clock. 2 laps remain, I would say, as they cross the line. As we got some side-by-side action here. But also, you've got to factor in. Well, there it is. There's the first move then. Oh, some mistakes in TX3. Oh, he's going to open up the door here massively. Is there a move for BS competition? There absolutely is. And then it's a send down the inside for TX3. It's not going to work out. BS are going to get that position, and now Arnage competition are making it through to our semi-finals. What a turn of events. It's a massive 2 laps now here for TX3. It's a massive 2 laps here for Ottaviani. He has to make up positions, but the insurance policy here is Pinches. Pinches could get involved in this and overtake then that TX3, and it wouldn't count towards the points of Arnage, but it would take a point away from TX3. Fascinating scenes here in our first quarter-final.
Benito with damage gets in front of Pinches on the run up in towards turn 5 at Barbecue. You can see the gap starting to build. Toth already about a full second and a bit clear of Ibrahim Khan. Behind him, of course, that crucial virtual drivers by TX3 entry that is going to determine how these quarterfinal results will play out. See how much damage there is as well on StatSense. 144 as they enter into the S's. It's been a physical sort of a race. Valentin Barriere looks to the inside of Kevin Siggy. Team Redline on their way out. Virtual drivers by TX3 have to be careful. They can't afford to do anything bad to themselves.
Yeah, also, Yaz Heat could get themselves involved in this right now. Statsenko P15, Malinovsky P4, and if they could get into a tie situation, of course, highest position would be Malinovsky as well. And, well, Statsenko's right behind a cluster of cars. If there's some sort of incident, some sort of mistake from drivers, because they're all pushing for position right now, especially TX3 and Arnage, then that opportunity might open itself up to
now. Will we get one more lap, or is Tauscher coming to the line to finish this race? It's claw. I'm only looking at the track map. The time expires. Checkered flag does not seem to be out. One more lap, yeah.
Yeah, he'd already crossed the line there, but he's all good to go. Which means we get one extra lap here. We've got a move happening a little bit further back. That's Kevin Siggy then making a move on Pfeffer, and Pfeffer just doesn't need to get involved in this. One driver that will like to see this is Valentin Barriere. He wants to gain as many positions now as possible because they need to, well, they need to get re-involved in this and gain some points. It's really quite as simple as that. It's scary what's going on here. I don't know what's going down. The maths needs to be done by Lewis at this point, but this is phenomenal.
I think right now it's stable with, unfortunately, virtual drivers by TX3 looking out of this.
Hold on, Gregor Shields P1. No. Hold on. They've tried to make it so that was the last lap of the race, and they failed. Gregor Shields leads. Malinovsky now second. So they tried to slow the race down.
Well, I wonder if maybe with open setups, did Unicorns of Love not put enough fuel into that car? That's why I was so concerned about how close it was going to be. Are Unicorns of Love in a world of trouble right now? Tauscher's down to 3rd, Pfeffer's down to 6th. It should still be close enough, but again, things change in the blink of an eye in this Esports Racing League. Gregor Schill leads this race.
If Tauscher and Pfeffer are running out of fuel here, they will be done. There's no way you're saving that across. One lap is massive in a 12-minute race. So they've either tried to slow the race down so it was the final lap of the race. I think that's the more than likely thing that's happened because they're still keeping pace now. They're only 2 seconds back here. And Pfeffer's 3/10 back in 5th. So I think they've tried to stop the race. Gregor Schill, though, absolutely takes it. No dramas.
Across the line, Gregor Schill, smile on his face. The last time he was here at Kailami, it was a frown, but he turns it upside down. With the fuel struggles for the Unicorns of Love, things turned on their head. Pinches will loop it almost around through the final corner. That should be academic. The reality of the situation is, though, Luke Crane, we have no idea what is going on here.
Perfect, yeah. We have no idea what's going on here, but I don't, well, Arjuna's gone. That's it. He's had enough. He's trying to dissect this. He's like, nah, do you know what? I've had enough here. I don't get paid enough to do this this kind of job. Again, if they were running out of fuel there, they wouldn't have finished the race. They finished P3, I think, and P6 Unicorns of Love. So I think what they've tried to do is they've tried to make it the last lap of the race, which is, I've always said this, it's clever if you've got enough of a gap, because the only thing that can happen if you do an extra lap, if you're leading a race, is something could go wrong. You're never going to gain anything from an extra lap if you're winning already. So they've tried to make it so that that was the last lap, failed to do so, and they've both then been swamped, because if they run out of fuel, surely they'd be dropping right down to the back of the order. And I'm pointing to something that's not there. I don't know what I'm pointing at, but there's something there that I'm pointing at, and it's to do with fuel. I don't know.
Lewis, you didn't have to talk about anything. You got to compose yourself with your thoughts. What are you thinking right now?
It's a tricky one because I'd still lean more towards the fuel angle, and they might have realised early enough to be able to say, like, there might have been like a litre over what they would need for it to be one lap less, and then had to save the extra litre or so over the last couple of laps, which, by the way, isn't easy. Whatever it was a huge mistake that thankfully it seems as though they've not paid the heaviest price for. It does seem as though they'll still be going through to the semi-finals. Gotta be said though, that race was not ideal over the opening couple of laps. Race Control are going to have a lot to deal with in that, a lot to go through. It was very, very messy indeed, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that quarterfinal 2 isn't quite as destructive, shall we say.
We only have a limited amount of race control as well, so I would not be shocked if quarterfinal 2 is slightly delayed, so we can work through the smorgasbord of reports that race control surely has to take a look at. When it comes to these race lengths, though, in your mind, Luke, you talk about, not wanting to risk it, but fuel, even a lap extra fuel, is a significant thing. We talk about it all the time in Formula One, and with these open setups, Unicorns of Love may be trying to be too clever for their own good.
Yeah, it's massive. In a 12-minute race, 1 lap of fuel is massive, right? You've got to just split the race. How many laps are you doing in 12 minutes? 7-lap race? So if you can save 1 lap of fuel, that's, 16, 17% in terms of weight of what the fuel will take up. They're going to be doing quick maths here, ladies and gentlemen. This is ridiculous. But again, as much as, you can't save, when you do an hour race on, let's say, iRacing, when I do special events, you can't, to save an hour, to save 1 lap's fuel, you've got to do that across the whole hour. You can't do that in a 12-minute race. So there's no way that they've run out of fuel there, or they're low on fuel. It has to be that they've tried to stop the race early, effectively, tried to cross the line, slow down sufficiently enough so that was at the final lap. And then, because there's no way that you're then going to stay in P3 and P6. I just can't see it. Again, I may be wrong. Johnny Woo summed it up perfectly, by the way. Unicorn of Lols, fair play. I love to see it. Unicorns of Love just providing content, whether it be winning or whether it be Tauscher dropping the TC in celebration. I mean, accidentally spinning in the final corner for no reason of celebrating at all. And then this. So, yeah, I love the team. Fair play to them.
Lewis, you and I have made our own fair share of mistakes in sim racing. Which one to you is more embarrassing? Trying to get the race done and lose the lead of the race, or lose it by spinning it on the final lap in the final corner?
The spinning on the final lap and final corner is always more embarrassing because it's such a... you've done that corner time and time again. Trying to orchestrate the end of the race, you're almost like... It's kind of one of those things, it's just not worth it. It simply isn't worth doing. Everyone's like, oh yeah, but you run 1 lap less. If you're confident and you're comfortable in the car like we know Unicorns of Love are, just do the extra lap. You just look very, very silly if you try and orchestrate it and get it wrong. Dropping it at the final corner is sort of like a head in hands, I'm so dumb moment. But, both are quite embarrassing.
Guys, sorry, my eyes have just lit up because I think it's not official just yet. But I think, which team did we say was out of it with about 4 minutes done in that race? Not Team Redline, the other one. Yassi might just have squeezed their way through with all of that drama to the semi-finals here today. I mean, Luke, what a turnaround that would be.
Yeah, it would be massive for them, and with less cars going into each round, there's less chance of there being a massive melee into turn number 1, which favours them because of their absolute pace. Again, Statsenko's not quite been at the races, if you like, in terms of raw pace, but we know what he's capable of. The guy is ridiculous, and Malinowski... on ACC, if you've got Malinowski in your team, you've got a chance.
It does look as though, like we said, race control has plenty to look through. Seems like potentially a penalty points going the way of our notch competition will shake things up. And of course, we saw the virtual drivers by TX3 sliding backwards as well. That's going to be shifting things around. Lewis, from your perspective then, as we head into quarterfinal 2, the drivers that might just have been watching quarterfinal 1, what will they have taken from that experience?
It was dirty. That was the main thing. They'll be looking at it being like, that quarterfinal was really, really dirty. Watch out for that on the race start. Watch out for that, over the first couple laps until everything gets single file, and then just people getting very, very hungry. The teams, this is one of the things, is the teams need to be communicating a lot. They need to be telling you, updating you on the points, on where things are, on what's actually going on, because then you as a driver know, is that car behind, is he hungry? Does he need to pass? Do I need to pass the car ahead? What's the dynamic here? Can I just sit? Do I need to risk everything? Those are the kind of things that we've seen some of the teams really, really master throughout the ERL in 2022. And we just need to see a couple more of those teams really work that out here today.
No, I'm hungry as well. Thanks, Lewis.
Thank you. Nice one.
Every time I go up to turn 5 and I hear the word barbecue, I get very, very hungry. I do like a bit of Kailami as well, Luke. This is genuinely my first time ever having to commentate on a race here, because I am what you'd call an iRacing noob, but I love it. It's plenty of elevation change, some heavy braking zones, some technical complexes as well. Clearly a challenge that the drivers are struggling to come to terms with.
One of those where, the curbs are really the main factor of whether you get a quick lap in or not so quick lap. You can use the curbs to your advantage at every single corner, but if you get set offline and use a little bit too much curb from another driver, it can be absolutely disastrous. So that's really the main factor, but it's such a flowy circuit. It's so easy to follow another car around here. And again, it's one of those circuits where you can just wait for a driver in front of you to make a mistake, because you can stick right close behind them and they're just going to be looking at you instead of looking about what they're trying to go forward. It's a brilliant circuit. Again, it's sort of got its second life, if you like, now, because of racing games. We have the Kailami 9-hour once every year, although the dates have been shifted over the last couple of years due to the world events and whatnot. But it really is a beautiful circuit. Down in South Africa, it's a great place, and actually used to host Formula 1 as well. So yeah, it would be great to see a few more series there. But it's nice that we're able to resurrect it in the sim racing space.
It's lovely to go racing on a different continent as well. One of those things that just adds a little bit more of a world vibe to what we're doing here. But of course, it is time for the quarterfinal 2. Qualifying is underway, so we can see who's going to be starting up towards the top of the order. And of course, again, it'll be our Junior and Luke taking you through it.
We've already seen that qualifying might be irrelevant if you try and play some games, but with 5 minutes left on the clock for qualifying session number 2 in these quarterfinals, Team Fordzilla's Fabian Piffet might be the first driver coming to the line to get a lap time onto the board. Standout names to watch for in this race include Triton Racing. We're looking for the Apex Racing team to put up a strong performance as well, but it's been reset for R8G. No penalty points to be thinking about. They've got to put the heats behind them, Luke, and focus on quarterfinal number 2.
Yeah, 100%. It's a massive opportunity for Apex here. Just getting through to the semi-finals is more than likely going to guarantee them being the top seed going into the Masters. The only other team that can have an effect is BS Competition. They're currently 3 points behind Apex, so I guess them already safely being through is, of course, going to help them. Burst Esports, they're currently in 4th position. They're 10 points off of the run for P1, so I can't see them really closing in. Same as Williams, Patrick Long Esports, Koana already out, Carbon Simsport already out as well. So yeah, a massive opportunity for getting that number 1 seed moving forward to our Masters. And Redline, by the looks of things, aren't going to be that team, which is mind-blowing.
It is crazy. I mean, even, on their somewhat unpreferred platform, in the Esports Racing World Cup, we saw their speed. We saw them do it in the Spring Cup as well. Today, though, the first time that we see Team Redline knocked out in the quarterfinals. What a disappointment that will be, but there's still a long way to go to the Esports Racing World Cup. Riding on board with Piffet through the final couple of sectors here at Kailami. Delighted to have your company here for Esports Racing League action in the Summer Cup. Remember, thanks to our friends at Next Level Racing, the official cockpit partner of VCO. If you go to the VCO Esports channels and enter in Next Level Racing, you'll be entered into the chance to win a Next Level Racing gaming chair. You won't make a mockery of the final couple of corners like we saw from Fabian Piffet there. He might get the opportunity to go again for qualifying, but with time running out, it's Triton Racing 1-2 and a half a second clear of Luke Whitehead behind.
Yeah, and that is a massive telling sign because Whitehead will be in the Munster. He is super fast as Huben goes up into P1 himself with a 41.895. Tajskovic then currently in P3. Gianmarco Fiducci then up into P4. But yeah, Whitehead being down in P5, for me, like it says the times above him are very quick indeed, but expect him to improve for sure as he looks very focused there, sat at home.
Chinchik up into 6th with Fiducci now 5th. Arnold in 4th, so Fordzilla not looking too bad for the time being. Kyle Valero in that Apex Racing Team 493s down in 9th. We wait for Jamie Fluke to come in. He goes 5th in the 499. Plenty of strong names, strong faces showing up. But Jack Keithley down in 15th for Williams Esports. Michele, no real lap time to speak of just yet, at least one worth noting. A 1/10 of a second splits the top 4 drivers. These margins are as small as you can get.
Yeah, they absolutely are. It's very, very close, and it's only going to get closer as the weekend, as the day will go on here. It feels like a weekend the way it's been going today. But yeah, the Triton team are working together nicely here. Currently in P2 and in P3 with Huben then up into that pole position spot. And I would imagine here, Tajskovic, before they finish this lap time, will move out the way, and then he will take the toe. So as we come through here, we should just shift over to the, or should stay left, or should I say? No, he's not. He is going to stay out and indeed go for a quick attempt here. But I figured that he might swap over and get the slipstream then of his teammate. It's not quite going to work out here. Do they go faster though? Across the line they will go. Tajskovic then does go provisional pole. Is by 2/10, and well, Luke Whitehead, I thought it was going to be Blyer we're going to see next to go up into P2. It's not. It's Luke Whitehead. He is in P2, then Huben P3. Blyer is in P4 as Huben goes back up to P1. Incredible stuff here, but I think the big story is Triton are both up there and looking super, super quick.
Now those should be those final laps of the session for the drivers that have already crossed the line. Here comes Chinchik for R8G in the 15, 6/10 off provisionally earlier. Now though closes for just under 3.5 away from Huben in terms of the pace. Richter, the Apex Racing Team ringer here today, up to 2nd. Now that might be crucial.
Yeah, and they do get to finish this lap actually, Arjuna. They get, once the checker flag comes out, they get to finish that lap. They're on a lap already. So yeah, it's the only game we have that on, I think. Is that right? rFactor closes at the 0, and iRacing is pretty much like that as well.
No, iRacing, it depends. For every race other than the first finals race, you're allowed to finish the lap that you're on, but for the final number 1, it ends as soon as the checkered flag drops. It gets confusing no matter what platform we're on, no matter what.
Make our jobs really easy, basically.
Right, exactly.
Love it.
It's all about confusing the commentators as much as possible. Although some teams do a better job of helping us out than others, there's many a livery that is black and red. I will say no more. There's the look, though, at Chinchik. We focus over to the sister team, GTWR Esports, and the 49 swinging his way in towards a heavy braking zone. We're hearing 4/10 up already.
Yeah, Capoccia here about to come through the final couple of corners here. Half a second up, which is going to put him in the most, only going to put him in amongst 14th really, maybe even 15th. So it's only going to be a couple of positions here, unless he can nail the final corner and grab a bit more. Around the final corner we will come here, and well, and Capoccia improved significantly enough to put himself in the hunt here with Luke Whitehead, his teammate, in P5. Well, he actually goes ahead of his teammate up to P5. Luke Whitehead P6. It's looking phenomenal for GTWR and Triton as it stands.
R8G not bad as well. Fordzilla's in the mix. Chinchik jumps in front of Fiducci. Here comes the 3rd of the Fordzilla cars. We saw Piffet run wide earlier. With time expired, the pressure's on. Can he go up the order this time by only into 16th? No significant improvement. Fiducci Arnold for Fordzilla. Still inside of the top 10 for the time being. Michele for Absolute Motorsport. Aslith. The number 4 will be the final car with a good lap time on the board to come across the line. Does Michele improve? He stays in 20th down in the field. Well, GTWR Lewis looking very, very strong. Maybe not such a big surprise.
Yeah, we know they're a quality team. As obviously Luke was saying a bit earlier on, they're partnered with R8G. R8G are essentially their partners on this platform. GTWR are well experienced. They've not exactly started racing on ACC recently. They've been on it since the very, very start. So they're one of the big heavy hitters in here, along with R8G. It's why they'd be maybe the favourites to move through potentially. But you know, qualifying is one thing, racing is a very, very, very different thing.
They're the stronger team of the R8G GTWR. As much as they are the academy, if you like, or the sister team, they're the stronger team here. They are here, and they could potentially go out and win this whole thing. They've just showcased that in this qualifying session. The fact Apex have been so dominant during today, they look so strong, but GTWR have blown everybody out of the water here in this qualifying session. So really good stuff to see, and it'll be phenomenal because we've had Apex, of course. I wasn't here. We finally get a new winner. Could we potentially, I know Unicorn's a lover here, but could we potentially see it once again?
Who knows? We've got another quarterfinal to deal with. Quarterfinal 1 was a little bit scrappy, a little bit messy. Let's see what quarterfinal 2 has to deal with. Arjuna and Luke, let's make this happen.
Well, you can see the cars getting ready for their shortened formation lap here. Huben Richter on the front row. This is going to be very exciting. Triton may be looking the most comfortable alongside GTWR. It's that battle for the third and final of our transfer positions where the excitement is. Apex 1 car up the field, R8G 2 cars inside of the top 10. You've got Fiducci Arnold.
Jamie Fluke P10. Richter in P2 as well, so they've got both of those. Also, I will say this here, Lewis is trying to get that phrase he just said going into this segment coined on a t-shirt, so yeah, the t-shirts will be available soon.
You continue looking through the rest of the field. Even Keithley Brzezinski for Williams Esports 13th and 15th, they'll be looking for a little bit of luck. But other than GTWR and maybe Triton, there's no real team with all three of their drivers up the order looking for some good results. Tire temperature going to be important here, and the starts have been getting increasingly chaotic as we've worked through the day so far. I don't expect anything different, Luke.
No, absolutely not. I just think the way that the teams have qualified, Triton, specifically GTWR as well, they are looking in great shape right now. I think the real team that are under pressure are Apex, but their ace in the pack is not Richter, who's P2, ironically. I think it's Jamie Fluke. He's got so much experience of being in this position time and time again. He will just slowly make his way through the pack, or maybe even decide to hold on to P10. He will be in communication with Richter, who's currently in P2, and I think just because of their experience should get themselves through. It's quarterfinal 2, Arjuna. Let's get it on.
Now do remember, it's a long hold before we get underway. The cars trundle down the start-finish straight, waiting for the green flag to fly, and there they go. Lights on, flag out. We're underway for quarterfinal number 2 in the Summer Cup in the Esports Racing League. Richter got a better launch, but the long way around might not be where he wants to be. Huben will cover the inside line. A Triton car trying to look maybe down the inside of Richter side by side for the race lead, but Huben holds on. GTWR also getting past one of those Triton cars. What a move that was from Capocha.
Yeah, brilliant stuff there from Capocha. Moves up into P4, and yeah, it's a really good start then for GTWR and indeed Triton. Apex looking pretty good. I think Fluke may have lost a couple of spots here though. We'll wait for the times to indeed sort themselves out once they go through sector number 1. But yeah, completely different to what we saw earlier on. There's Brzezinski here, Jack Keithley as well. They're trying to battle here with Piffet. As it goes 3 wide here, the Team 4 Zilla car is going to be sent out wide. Oh, it looks like a burst Esports cars off the circuit here as well. They're all going to move right down to the back of the order here, which is not ideal in the slightest. Of course, this is the first time that teams will get awarded points if you go out at this stage of the competition. But once again, because there's so many teams with all 3 down at the back end of the order, it means that the teams such as GTWR right now, maybe even Apex, are in a good spot because they've got 2 in the top 10.
Gap out front, 3/10 for the time being. Jamie Fluke down to 11th. Fordzilla able to get past him in the early stages. It was an absolute motorsports car that was a little bit sideways on the run out of, I think it was turn 3, 4, and 5 that slid down the order. And there's more contact and bumper cars being played. Crucially, it's one of the Apex Racing Team cars that's gone around. Jack Keithley involved.
Oh yeah, it wasn't Fluke then, actually. It was not Fluke there at all. Fluke's still there in P11 as it stands. Who was that then? Who was involved in that? The number 45. It's Keithley was mainly involved in that. He's still in a good position right now. As I say that, he's dropping down the order. So no, he's now down to P18. So that was not ideal there in the slightest. Williams went in the greatest spot ever. As you can see in the background though, there's some wrestling wallpaper. Jack Keithley also has Action Man curtains. I'm not here to judge. Fair play to the guy. He does what he needs to do.
You're just trying to make friends with all of them. You're looking in, seeing what birthday presents you can buy to get on the Christmas list for many of them. On board with Fiduci as we roll down in towards that right-hand sweeper, Whitehead in front of him. Again, if we look at the points, those advancing on forward from here. GTWR looking good, Triton looking good as well. Fordzilla, RAG, the ones fighting for the final of our transfer positions. Inside of the top 20 though, the third of the Triton cars battles with Charcot in front of Dalavala, in front of him Jack Keithley. We say it time and time again, if you're Charcot in that 55, just stay out of trouble.
I got to meet Fiduci in Imola, actually, and he is a good-looking man, I'm not going to lie. He's got all the right parts in the right places, I'm not going to lie. So yeah, he's doing very well in the race car as well, so I had to throw that out there.
Love lost with Enzo Benito would turn out as. Who was that just got all the way out of the way in towards the hairpin? Was it Keithley that's just continuing to slow down? In fact, no, it was Charcot who's seemingly just decided, all right, I don't want to get involved in any sort of shenanigans like we always harp on. He's going to play the safe card for the time being. Looking forward, though, his teammate under fire, Whitehead, right on the bumper with Fiduci, Hosseini, Chinchik, Arnold, the rest of the top 10. The top 4 starting to break away, albeit very slightly.
Yeah, let's try and do some live maths here. So Huben will be the first of the scorers for GTWR. Capoccia will be second, right? So that will be 5 points as it stands. We've then got Blaya, who will be scoring himself 3 points. Then we've got Tyskovic, who will be scoring himself 5, right? So that'll be 8 points. And then who's the next team here? Realistically, who is the next team? Hosseini is the lead RAG car. We've got Fiduci's the lead Fordzilla car. We've got Richter, who's the lead Apex car. Jamie Fluke's then down in P11, so that's 13 points. Can anybody match 13 points right now? I don't think they can. Shinjik, Hosseini, 8th and 9th. That's 17 points. Fiduci, where's his nearest? Arnold's on 11, so Fiduci, would that be 18 points right now? So I think you're fine right now. The Apex with P10 now, so it moves them up even more. 12 points might be good enough for them to go through.
It is right now, but this margin is not by any means done at this point. Still not even halfway through this race. We ride on board with Yayovsky tucked up behind Sean Arnold. Jamie Fluke 1.7 back from Chinchik in the number 15. So for Jamie Fluke, you're not expecting him to make up too much ground in terms of positions. Richter would have to get the elbows out to maybe bully his way to the race lead to get in front of Huben. The question becomes for your Fordzilla drivers, for your RAG drivers in front of Fluke, what can they do to try and gain some ground? As you can see the train still first through 9th, basically involved in a draft lock for the time being, all just biding their times and waiting. Yayovsky running a bit wide into the grass.
Yeah, it's like a DRS train in Formula 1, isn't it? No one can really make any advancements because the car in front's going a little bit faster because they got the toe of the car in front. But there's only so fast you can go. Not every car, you know, you could have 10 cars in a train. The 10th car isn't then going to be going a little bit faster than the 9th car because there's only so much the car can actually do. I will say this though, I'm going to throw a storyline out there. We all thought that Team Redline would easily be the number 1 seed going into the Masters. But as it stands, if Apex do get through at this stage, it will be Apex effectively versus BS, not only in this competition, like in terms of trying to win it, but to be the number 1 seed at the Masters. Although we've got a penalty here.
Whoa!
Wow! So right now, Valero Gael then is going to get 3 penalty points. That's going to add then to the Apex team. As it stands, they'll be on 15 points. And what does that mean then for everybody? Oh, well, that actually means that... Oh, well, that means that Fiduci and Hosseini are on different teams. No, it would still mean they just about go through, I think.
It's close. Chinchik and Hosseini 8th and 9th. They'd be 17 for them. Fiduci and Arnold with 7 plus 11. It's 18 as well. So they're currently okay with 2nd and 10th are the Apex Racing team, but it's too close for comfort. 3 positions lost will give the opportunity maybe for Yayovsky and the rest of RAG to work forward. The only thing that move on Sean Arnold has really done, though, is made it harder for Fordzilla. Yayovsky's the 3rd of the RAG machines in line. He's not scoring points.
No, I don't think they're really in the running for this, are they? I think it's really about Hosseini and Shinjik. Can they gain any positions near the end of this race? As we see here, Gianmarco Fiduci is just holding on for dear life here. But if both of these RAG cars could potentially get ahead of this Fordzilla car, that takes away 2 points. It would then be a tie between them and Apex. And Apex with a penalty point would mean that then RAG go through, which would almost hand BS Competition the top seed going into the Masters in 4 weeks' time. So many storylines here, Arjuna. And, you know, this is where I get too excited. I don't really make much sense, but I get really excited.
Look at the battles left and right, up and under attempted, potentially on the inside. Brzezinski trying to get on past Sean Arnold, 3 wide potentially, but Sarika backs out of that one. Up the hill through turn 3 and 4 they go. Sarika has another little look-see inside first, now outside line. Sean Arnold's lost another place, might be a second spot lost now.
Yeah, he'll be doing some swear words in Welsh for sure, but he's no idea. He's just being swamped here by Williams drivers, and he wants to try and keep them behind him as soon as he possibly can. And well, Sarika trying to hold that outside line is so tough to do, but ultimately would have been rewarded with an inside line through this left-hander, and then consequently would have had the inside line for the next left-hander as well. Sean Arnold, though, with a lot of counter steer on the curb, holds firm and holds on to the position.
4 minutes left to go. Are we going to see drama coming to the line? Remember, this is the longer races that we're going to have today in this quarterfinals. 12 minutes. The finals, by contrast, just 8 minutes. More words from race control. This time it's your Porsche Esports Super Cup competitor on iRacing, Moreno Sarika, with 3 penalty points for pushing. It was already looking, though, like Williams Esports would be waving goodbye to us here in these quarterfinals. That might very well just be academic. So GTWR with Hubin at the front and Kapocha in 4th. Still lead the way for the time being. Triton comfortable 3rd and 5th. With the Apex Racing team still on the bubble. 2nd for Richter. Fluke down in 10th. We look at that battle, though, for 8th on back, where Jamie Fluke has a look at Fiducci trying to work on Chin Chin.
Yeah, so we've just had it thrown here. Apex and RHG are actually now tied on points by the looks of things. Apparently they are... I'm not sure how that...
They are. No,
they
because
are tied, yeah.
Yeah, Hosseini got up into 7th, Chinchik up into the 8th position, and of course because of those 3 penalty points. Yeah, at this point, Jamie Fluke has got to find a way forward rather than biding his time.
I just think it's impressive that Lewis has been handy to lean on today for the first time ever. So good shout. That's Lewis's maths there, ladies and gentlemen, not ours. So, but yeah, great stuff. Right now, as it stands, Apex need to find a position, and where are they? Jamie Fluke, more to the point, has to make an overtake here. So we need to stay on board for the next 2.5 minutes here on Jamie Fluke. Can he make a move here on Gianmarco Fiducci to, well, safely get Apex through and battle with BS competition for the #1 seed going into the Masters?
And remember, you don't really want to send Richter out there to fight for the lead, because if anything happens at the front, it potentially means Richter loses even more positions to give them no chance of fighting. If anyone's going to go for it, it has to be this man, one of the nicest people in all of sim racing. Jamie Fluke will have to get physical to bully his way past on Fiducci, but coming to the line this time by should be 2 laps to go. He's running out of time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you gave Apex the option for Richter to go and make the move on Hubin. I think he'll take it, to be honest with you. I'm not sure they're that worried about it. But yeah, Jamie Fluke has to close up here. I believe we've got 2 laps remaining of this race. We definitely have got 2 laps remaining of this race. And it's either Richter or Fluke have to make an overtake here. Otherwise, they do not go through. So as it stands, Triton are golden. We've also got ourselves GTWR. They are golden. They are through. But right now, Apex are tied with RHG. RHG do not have any penalty points. That means that they would get safe passage through to the semi-finals. But 1 overtake from Richter, who's currently P2, or Jamie Fluke, who's currently in P10, would then make it so that Apex go through. It is on a knife edge. We're on the final lap.
No, it's still 2 laps to go. You got me confused for a second because Hubin has got such a good gap at the front of the field in terms of the pace. We will have 2 to go. Fluke, you saw the onboard there. Not looking too panicked, but surely Alex Simpson in his ear telling him, look, you've got to maybe get a move on. Here's that gaggle at the front, and you can see that Hubin and Richter have broken away from Dominic Blyer, 1.5. The gap back to the Triton Racing number 10 as they work over the crest of the hill. Richter, with a red mirror, sees a mistake from up in front.
Yeah, Hubin runs a little bit wide again. It's a double Apex left-hander, so actually it's not the worst mistake to make there, because it just means you open up the second part, and actually the gap has indeed gone out a little bit more once again. I think that we've got to be looking at P10 and P9 here, in all fairness. I don't think we're going to see the move here. I think we're going to see it here between these 2. Jamie Fluke here, just get as close as you possibly can and be in with a chance on the final lap. Of course, Jamie Fluke's got so much experience with this car, but not on this platform. But if you want someone to have a last lap opportunity with this Cup car, the Porsche Cup car, you absolutely want it to be Jamie Fluke. Then around the final corner we go. There is going to be one more lap remaining of this race. Jamie Fluke gets a relatively good exit here. He's got the slipstream then down in towards turn number 1. Not sure he's quite close enough to make this move this time round, but again, he is a bit of a magician, so who knows? Through the kink they come, down then towards the braking zone they come, and how much pressure can you put on? Jamie Fluke knows he has to make it stick here, goes up the inside very, very late then on the brakes here. He's, well, carved himself an opportunity, but it's brilliant driving from Fiducci. No panic mode there for the Team Forzilla car. Up towards turn 4, another dive up the inside by Fluke, pins the apex beautifully. Fiducci comes back at him here. Side-by-side action then between Forzilla and indeed Apex. And I tell you what, I think the Forzilla car may be just about ahead as we swing through the right-hander, but Fluke may have done enough here. He has got the overtake. It's brilliant for him right now, and he's putting Apex into the semi-finals with that incredible bit of driving.
What a lunge it was through sunset from Jamie Fluke. Had the inside line, but had to keep the momentum going. Now will Fiducci fight it back in the final stage of the lap? Through the S's, Fluke survives. He's still got, though, plenty more corners to go, plenty more heavy braking zones to offer the opportunity for the 46 to fight this one back. Fluke pinched to the inside, Fiducci trying to go the long way around potentially, but back down the hill they work in towards Mineshaft. Still leading the way is Jamie Fluke for the Apex Racing team in this crucial battle for 9th in quarter-final number 2. Maybe a chance for Fiducci to fight one through Crocodile. He'll try an up and under, and Fluke has made the mistake from hero to zero in the blink of an eye, while Huben will win this race with Richter hot on his tails. Jamie Fluke with one mistake might just have let the chances for the Apex Racing team to slide out, but with a final lap lunge, Jamie Fluke does it in heroic fashion. The Apex Racing team, after victory on iRacing, through to the semi-finals on Assetto Corsa Competizione.
What a move that was at the end there. Huge mistake by Jamie Fluke. He's just been hero to zero to hero, all in the space of one lap. Both dives as well looked like he was about to absolutely kill the Forzilla car, but then magically pins the apex. Whatever hacks you've got there, Jamie, you need to, send them to me on the down low. Incredible final lap. I think he's just dragged his team to the semi-finals, and we legitimately will have that battle between BS Competition and Apex to be the #1 seed going into our Summer Cup Masters. Oh, breathe.
Lewis, that was fantastic.
I mean, super breathless stuff, of course, and Jamie Fluke with, like I said, hero again. Had to be a big send, battling out there with Gianmarco Fiducci, looking for that final spot, robbing it from R8G. Apex are looking super strong, but they kind of put themselves in a little bit of a dodgy spot there, a position which they cannot afford in the semi-finals. But of course, again, it's not guaranteed they're going through yet, because Race Control will have a lot to look at.
Maybe this time, though, it is going to be a little bit easier. I tell you what, though, we need to take a break. We need to take some time to compose ourselves. We'll let Race Control finalize the results of both quarterfinal 1 and quarterfinal 2. We'll be back here on VCO Esports for the semi-finals. Oh, we're in for a treat. and the Esports Racing League Summer Cup, where race control is having to work through a bevy of incidents, including a final lap, final corner pass that will decide the teams that head forward to the semi-finals. My name is Arjuna Kangupati, joined alongside, as always, by Luke Crane and Lewis McLeod. We'll go to you first, Luke, and we'll talk about the quarterfinals that we saw. Quarterfinal 1, crazy, chaotic, messy. Quarterfinal 2, still crazy and chaotic, but in a calculated sort of way.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe well, people. I don't know. I just think that the contacts were just slightly different, as you expect. I think both of them were raced pretty much in the same manner. That's the way the cookie crumbles here. It's one of those where you're at the end of the cup, effectively going towards the Masters. People are trying to get that tops. As much as today is all about one specific competition, you're trying to become the ACC or the round 3 of the Summer Cup champion. You're also trying to book your ticket through to the next stage, but you're also trying to get a seeding for the next stage as well. If you're seeded number 1 after today, that means you face seed 12, which obviously we know is still going to be tough, but historically, if you're facing the team that have qualified in 12th, that's normally the slowest team, albeit we will be racing on a different platform. So it's one of those. So there's so many different storylines. You're trying to make sure you get a good seed. You're trying to make sure you get through. There are other teams here who have got no chance of going through, and they're just trying to earn as much money as they possibly can before we head to the Fall Cup later on this year. So yeah, of course it's going to be frantic. It's the last opportunity for some. It's a big opportunity for others. So hopefully that's kind of explained why people might be driving a little bit frantically.
Lewis, from your perspective, you mentioned this in the brief break that we had. You've commentated on Gianmarco Fiduci too many times to count. You know that he would have loved that one, and he's come into our YouTube chat so happy with that battle, saying he loved that one. Amazing racing.
I mean, Fiduci's, like I say, he's not the most experienced driver in sim racing. He didn't start that long ago, but so much potential, so much speed, and has raced so much and has kind of figured things out. If you go back and look a couple of years ago, you think, oh, yeah, he's quite good. And then you look at him over the start of this year, particularly in the race room competitions, really figuring it out. Look at the first round of the ERL Summer Cup as well, right in, bread and butter racing in touring cars and stuff. Such a talented driver, and really, really respectful, great at racing, just in the sense of giving room, giving respect to the competitors. It's why he loves racing. It's why the competitors love racing him. It's why we love watching it. And that was a super fight between himself and Jamie Fluke. Fluke just getting the upper hand and maybe booking his place up into the semi-final. But of course, race control still need to look at a few things.
Well, we can confirm no further action for that final lap battle between Gianmarco Fiduci and Jamie Fluke. It will be the Apex Racing team that advance along with GTWR Esports as well as Triton Racing. Well, that's set the grid for our semi-finals. We're going to step aside for a couple more moments, let the drivers get ready to go racing for one potentially final time. We'll be back with the semi-finals from Kailami.
But once again, thank you to our partners in Next Level Racing. But we've got to focus on this because we're in the next level of the competition. Semi-finals underway. We're in the qualifying session for it, and this is going to be very, very important. 6 teams will become 2. Just one team with 2 drivers on the grid, that one being Yazheek. That's why it's 17 and not 18. Lewis, myself, I don't know why I said my own name there, but I was going to say Arjuna is alongside with the community. I just love myself that much. I want to say my own name. Cheers, mate. This is going to be a tense one.
It is, and I think for Yazheek, this might be the most crucial qualifying session that they've had so far today. 2 drivers for them comparing to 3 for everyone else. 6 teams, 3 drivers should be 18. No, we've got 17 cars on the track. For the 2 Yazheek drivers, if their qualifying goes badly for them, they're in for a world of pain.
This is a tough one though. Like I said, racing has been a little bit tricky around here, so you do want a bit of track position. You can make your way up a couple of positions through the race. The race is going to be another 12-minute one, but if you qualify 15th, your chances of getting inside the top 5 are pretty low, so you need to at least get yourself up inside the top 10 in this race. Surely that is the priority for a lot of these teams.
Yes, and I think given what we've seen so far today, I'd go one step further than that and say, if you're not inside of the top 10 but you have other drivers there, just get out of the way. Don't get involved in anything. We've already seen plenty of drama involving cars that didn't necessarily want to get in trouble, put their team in compromising positions. Make sure you've got the best hand that you can play with rather than being on the back foot.
Well, we'll see Stetsenko coming up towards sunset here. Of course, the 2-car team in Yazheek this afternoon. They need both to really deliver here. They can't have that sort of third bullet in the gun that can take things a little bit easy. We saw that from Charcot in the previous race, dropping back to the rear end of the field. Gael Valero as well had issues early on, but it left the other 2 up the order. For Yazheek, they don't have that. They have to perform with both cars, with Stetsenko and with Malinovsky, who's directly behind. It's not easy when you're just a 2-car outfit, but we've seen this from Yazheek before, and we've seen them do very well in this position.
And remember what we're fighting for as well. There's so many different things that these drivers have to be thinking about. Of course, the overall Esports Racing League standings, which build us up to the Esports Racing World Cup. The ERL Summer Cup standings, which are going to build us up for the August 10th run back on rFactor 2 when we go for that unique one-on-one format with the Masters. Seeding for that gets determined here today as well. Many different things that drivers, managers, engineers have got to factor in.
Yeah, here we go. Stetsenko then out across the line. Like you said, there's a lot happening behind. They're all focused on, but they've got to keep their eyes on this session right now. Stetsenko across the line, only good enough for 7th place, whilst his teammate just 0.002 of a second off of Tobias Pfeffer. Unicorns of Love at the moment, 1st and 3rd, separated by 0.007 of a second. Absolutely incredible, the top 3 at the moment.
Yeah, now that is the margin that makes you realize why these guys are so good. When they're split by these levels across of what, 2.8 miles, 4.5 kilometers, split by 0.007 of a second. My word, we're in for a treat. And for Unicorns of Love, to some degree, remember the last time they went racing, Lewis, was quarterfinals #1, where they almost made an absolute hash of transferring to the semifinals. You know there's a little bit of frustration that they're trying to let out right now.
Yeah, but sometimes you make a mistake like that. That's fine. It happened. Put it in the past. You've got through, and they're a good team that will put that to one side and move on. Look at Michi Tauscher. I know he hates it when we bring it back up, but Bathurst, ERWC, the spin at the final corner. What did he do straight away? One. Because it's just sort of like, right, that mistake is in the past. Let's move on and focus on the next task. Unicorns of Love, they're a young team. They are so focused on what is next and not what is behind. And that is why they are so strong. They're in such a position today. It is almost kind of that vibe of who's joining them in the final.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the question that we're asking ourselves. And to some degree as well, that mental fortitude, right, is what splits the good from the great from the best. Driving skill at this level, it's all almost the same. We're not trying to say that everyone is as fast as everyone else, because that's just blatantly not true, but the margins are so small, it's the mental strength that helps. And when you're Unicorns of Love, when you've got the esports backing that they do, they've seen it across of other platforms. GTWR, so impressive in quarterfinal number 2. Huben, 800ths off the pace.
Yeah, Mitchy Tauscher improved as well, so got himself to a 41.4, so moves clear of Tobias Pfeffer, who's gone from right at the top to 6th place, moving down drastically. The session moving on very, very fast at the moment. The final few laps of it, we're looking at Andrea Capoccia, got one of the Unicorns of Love directly behind. BS Competition getting out of the way as they race their way towards the S's. Just 40 seconds left in this session. The final laps are beginning now for some of the drivers, but as you can see on your track map, I think these are the last laps. No one's going to be starting a lap in the final 30 seconds.
And we were so confidently a moment ago saying, who's going to join Unicorns of Love? Tauscher is leading qualifying. Pfeffer is down in 6th. Yeah. Milnek, 13th. It might not be such a cakewalk, but remember, 6 becomes 2. That's what we're looking for here today.
There are a lot of drivers. These are things. There's a lot of drivers. The likes of Malinovsky, the likes of Halban, the likes of even Gregor Schill, the driver on screen right now, Andrea Capoccia, that can really take it to Unicorns of Love. It's just whether they have the backing from the team. Andrea Capoccia in GTWR having a really good driver in the form of Luke Whitehead, who's presently in 3rd, needs to nail this lap. Checkered flag is out in the session, dragging one of the Unicorns of Love across the line. Where does Capoccia go in this session? And that number 49 GTWR only to 10th place. No major improvement from him. Only up the one single spot, not the major drama at the end of the session that he was wanting.
But remember, for GTWR, Huben and Whitehead, 2nd and 3rd. They are the most comfortable right now. Triton, 5th and 6th. Unicorns of Love, 1st and 7th. You've got drivers all over the shop right now. BS Competition, Gregor Schill, the best of them in 8th. Here comes Jonas Raivio to the line.
And just remember, we are looking for the top 2 teams here at the moment with that qualifying from Mitchy Tauscher. Questions, but as we've just cut away, Bastian Richter has just gone up into 2nd position. Can update you that one on the live timing of 41.5. Bastian Richter for Apex Racing Team looking very strong.
Yeah, and this is again a reminder of where we've been so far today, where we've still got left to go. 3 heats took 25, 26 teams down to just 14. 2 quarterfinals, 7 teams, I should say, in each of those, with 3 advancing. Make up the semi-final grid from here. We'll whittle it down to the final 2 teams that will fight in the best of 3 series that we'll have later on today. We are going to be, I think, almost guaranteed, 1 team likely making it for the first time into the finals for Triton or GTWR.
Yeah, we are getting ready then for the gridding action. Let's take a look at what that grid looks like. Mitchy Tauscher going to be on that pole position with Bastian Richter alongside on that front row. In a sense, Arjuna, it is Unicorns of Love front row of the grid. It's just that Bastian Richter's got some slightly different colours on for this round. I am a little bit concerned for Unicorns of Love. Where's his closest teammate? Tobias Pfeffer in 8th place. You were right. This is not going to be the cakewalk they were expecting.
The only team that I think is quote-unquote comfortable is GTWR, by virtue of the pace that Halban and Whitehead have shown, the ability to stay out of trouble. Behind them, though, the questions are open. Does Richter get support from Fluke or Valero? Fluke, Valero, 12th and 17th. For Triton, can they spoil the party for the Unicorns of Love? Bayer and Charcot have looked mighty fast today, and crucially, they're in front of Tobias Pfeffer.
Yeah, the issue for Unicorns of Love in this sense, counter to how we've seen them on ACC before in the ERWC and in the ERL, is their 3rd driver being Maciej Mionek at the moment. He's not an ACC specialist at all. And that is being shown 15th on the grid. Can't really pick up the pieces. There are issues for Tobias Pfeffer. So this is not going to be an easy one. This is going to be high pressure. Pfeffer needs a great drive and needs no major drama.
And he needs Tauscher to control the rhythm of this race. If Tauscher leads, for Pfeffer, the job becomes that much easier. If Tauscher gets swarmed, then things take a whole different meaning as the cars get ready to roll.
Indeed. 12 minutes will go back onto the clock. We'll get ourselves ready. We've got 6 teams that are in this race. Most teams have 3 drivers, just the 1 team with the 2 being Yaz Heat, and we will see the 6 become 2, getting ready for yet another final here in the Esports Racing League on Assetto Corsa Competizione, where we will remind you, Unicorns of Love have a 100% win ratio. They are very good on this platform, but can someone else take it to them on a day like this? Who knows? We've already waved goodbye to big teams like Team Redline. Who are we saying goodbye to now? 12 minutes onto the clock here at Kyalami. Mitchie Tauscher on the pole. Bastian Richter alongside for the Apex Racing team. Nick Hauben and Luke Whitehead alongside on that second row. We race once again on that massive charge down towards the second corner, and we'll be heavy onto the brakes. GTWR in that second row already fanning out because Malinovsky's trying to fancy his way through the middle. He's diving it around the outside, almost contacts as the Apex Racing team car of Bastian Richter just hangs on to second position, but it is a comfortable lead from Mitchie Tauscher. Whoa, up and over the curbs. That was a big moment from Malinovsky.
Whitehead tried to not just slam the door shut, but then force Malinovsky even further wider than he would have wanted to be thinking about. Run into sunset. The Yas Heat car goes defensive to try and cover off the charge from Blyer behind. Nice tidy start at the front. Tobias Pfeffer in a world of trouble.
This is exactly what we said they couldn't have, because they don't have another driver all the way up the order. Minek's been able to get himself up into 10th, so that might just rescue them a little bit. But we're only looking at 2 teams here, and they can ill afford that. Tobias Pfeffer down to 17th. I think we might not just see 1 new team in the final, we might well be getting close to seeing 2 brand new teams.
At this point, I think you can somewhat confidently say Unicorns of Love 1 foot out of the semi-final with, of course, GTWR 3rd and 4th, looking at 7 points for them. Even Triton Racing, Blyers in 6th, but Charcot's down in 12th, so actually not looking so favorable. Jamie Fluke's the one that got a monster of a launch. Richter now has some support, 9 points for them. They are tied with the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, Bastian, I mean, this is a super drive from Bastian Richter, of course, and a super drive from Jamie Fluke thus far. They can ill afford penalties, though. The Apex Racing team, big defense there from one of the GTWRs. Was that a switch of position from them? It was Luke Whitehead making a bit of a dive, trying to get past his teammate Nick Hauben. The 2 of them will come across the line, but wasn't able to do so. So he's having to worry about Malinovsky. Hauben's holding on to 3rd position at the moment. They can't trip up over each other as we head down towards the first braking zone. There's a look from Malinovsky, straight down the inside. He's sending it in there. The 2 will be side by side up the corner as we head up the hill. Oh my goodness, big moment from Luke Whitehead, who now has to worry about Dominic Blyer.
Yeah, if you look in the form book, though, that was a push from the Yas Heat car to force Luke Whitehead wide. You'd have to think, just based on what we've seen so far, likely going to be some penalty points for Malinovsky. Now, it doesn't help GTWR. It only hurt the Yas Heat team, but it's why they had to be concerned with a feisty driver behind, maybe a little bit lackadaisical of a look from Whitehead.
Yeah, wow, what a bit of a moment there. A big bit of drama that Jamie Fluke is sat there, another couple of cars behind Luke Whitehead in that 7th position. The Apex Racing team car sat there thinking, oh, if something dramatic could happen here, that would work out brilliantly for me. Currently sat in that 7th position. We'll focus on Luke Whitehead up and over the crest at the highest point of the circuit before we start dropping down through the mine shaft. Mitchie Tauscher leading by a fair margin at the moment, being chased down a little bit by Bastian Richter, who I don't think either of them will take major risks.
I have to correct myself. I said that Unicorns of Love and Apex were tied, but I did my math wrong. Apex Racing team 2 points clear of Unicorns of Love as it sits right now. GTWR and Apex are comfortably within the transfer positions. For Unicorns of Love, Milnek needs to work forward, but he's got 3.2 seconds of buffer to close on Rivio before he can start making some positions up.
I'm a big Unicorns of Love fan, don't get me wrong, but that final, if it's between GTWR and Apex, what a final it would be. Big drama already, of course, for Unicorns of Love with Tobias Pfeffer and dropping way down. Maciej Mianek's not going to be able to pick up any positions. He's 3 seconds off the back of Jonas Rivio in 10th position, so there's not going to be any extra bonus points heading their way because Mitchie Tauscher's leading the way. He can't go any further up, and Mianek might just pick up some positions from those that drop off, but that's kind of it. I think we're waving goodbye to Unicorns of Love, the absolute favourites coming into the day.
And let's make it clear what a surprise this truly is. We've been on ACC now for 3 different events. Day 1 of the Esports Racing World Cup, Day 1 of the Esports Racing League Spring Cup, and then to close out the Spring Cup, the ERL Spring Masters. Who won on every single one of these days? The Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, what a big day this is for all of it in the Esports Racing League. I mean, We've already said goodbye to Redline, who would realistically come into it as potentially being the favourites, at least to get through to the final, or at least to get through to this stage. We've already said goodbye to them in the quarter-finals after some drama for them. It's been a dramatic day. I've got to say, thank you to all of you voting at home for picking Kyle Army. As much as I do love myself a bit of Brands Hatch, Kyle Army is just awesome.
Landslide. 93% of those on VCO Esports social media channel wanted us to come to Kyle Army, and how grateful we are to them. Here's the word from Race Control, and well, it's done. Bye-bye Unicorns of Love. Tobias Pfeffer, involved in contact that he instigated, 3 penalty points, goes his way.
Yeah, that is a big, big shame. Malinovsky might be able to rescue something for Yazzie. Obviously, we feel he might be under investigation from Race Control for an incident on the way past Luke Whitehead. We'll have to wait and see how that one will set itself out. But he's trying to do the same thing on Whitehead's teammate. Straight into the happen. That's way too deep. And guess what? Nick Hoban's going to be like, yep, cool, cheers, thanks, bye. Luke Whitehead might also come through when they head up the hill towards Barbecue. Not able to do so, but you know he's going to be a little bit miffed sat behind that Yaz Heat car.
Yeah, but you can feel the pressure for Yas Heat right now as they run very, very wide as they build themselves down in towards Sunset.
Oh,
going on the defense is Whitehead, because around the outside, can Blyer really make that stick?
Whitehead's going out a little bit too deep, maybe squeezes the Triton car out a little bit wide. That was a little bit naughty from Whitehead. They were fully alongside heading round Sunset. Blyer gets pushed out wide. Jamie Fluke still lying up in position, and Andrea Capoccia, another one of those GTWR cars, will want to get past, will want to assist his teammates in the form of Nick Halban and Luke Whitehead as well.
Mitchie Tauscher has run away from teammate that is not a teammate today in the form of the 490 Bastian Richter, 1.3 clear, and even though he will end the semi-final jubilant, the team maybe not so much. Been a difficult semi-final after a difficult quarter-final for them. It seems to have just gone all wrong, despite clearly having the pace advantage. Whitehead gets turned around by Blyer. They both hold on to it, though. Jamie Fluke and Capoccia join the party as well. They're 3 wide into the penultimate corner.
Yeah, this is not going to end well. Capoccia makes a little bit of contact with Jamie Fluke going through Cheetah, and that is Jamie Fluke off the road. He drops back even behind Jonas Raivio as well. 3 wide into Cheetah. Never, ever going to work. Not in a million years, and Jamie Fluke drops down into 9th spot. There's going to be a lot to deal with after this race from Race Control. Our finalists are most certainly not set this afternoon just yet.
But crucially, if Fluke finishes here, they still advance. The Apex Racing team will. 2.8 back to the next Unicorns of Love car. If you're Jamie Fluke in the Apex Racing team facility in Corby in England, what do? You just wait here for the next 4 minutes and 38 seconds.
Yeah, just breathe, just breathe. Let your teammate in Bastian Richter is doing what he needs to do. Sat in second position at the moment. Unicorns of Love might regret, by the way, loaning him out big time already to the Apex Racing team. But it is what it is. Yeah, if you're Jamie Fluke, you might be a little bit irritated by what's happened. Might feel like you've been pushed down the order a bit unfairly. But hey, it's happened. You're in 9th. You might be in position. Let's just hold on for now. Big drama, I still feel, is on the horizon, Arjuna. We've got 4 minutes left of this race. Got about 3 laps left to go. We are not done yet.
There's still some incidents, of course, for Race Control to have a look at. The moment with GTWR and Yassi, and then GTWR and Triton Racing. 2 different drivers mixed up there as we look forward towards Dominic Blyer hunting down Capoccia, who's worked his way up quietly into 6th, taking full advantage of chaos and carnage around him. You can see Jamie Fluke clearly faster than Raivio in that battle for 8th position, but if you're Fluke, you get the word in your ear, we're good now, don't make anything happen. It's going to give us any penalty points.
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing that needs to go to Gael Valero as well. I think he would have had that call a little bit earlier on in the race, is just basically don't get involved in anything, just sit there, just wait, just, ready to pick up pieces, but nothing more than that. Jamie Fluke also needs that on the blur as well. He's got Jonas Raivio, quite an aggressive driver directly ahead of him, someone that will defend this position very, very hard. Not worth trying to fight your way past. Raivio's fast enough, just let him do his thing. Hope that you don't drop back into the clutches of Maciej Mlynarczyk, which will happen if you fight too hard. And of course, that is a position they can't really lose, because that is one of the Unicorns of Love.
And remember, points are paid out at every stage of this Esports Racing League event. So even for the teams that waves goodbye to us in the heats, the relative standings of the heat points will give out championship points to those that fared better. The same applies here in the semi-final, and as it stands right now, despite the fact that Triton Racing have been one of the faster teams out there today, they will score the lowest points in the semi-final. It's why we talk about the importance of consistency on the road to the Esports Racing World Cup, and for someone like Yas Heat to only show up with 2 drivers, still put in some good speed, still walk away with good points, these are the type of days that you really need.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, sure, if you can't get into the final for whatever reason, you've had a bad race, even for Unicorns of Love, we can't get into the finals for whatever reason. They are still a team that's desperate for points here as Gregor Schill looks to the inside of Gael Valero, who went a little bit too deep up at 10 and 11. But for Unicorns of Love, they've not scored great points this season so far in the Summer Cup. They just need to get points to the board. If they can't win, if they can't get to the final, fair enough. Try and just get some consistent points, don't get into too much trouble, and just aim to get third. The up and under from Gregor Schill, though, Gael Valero goes a little bit too deep coming in to the Crocodiles and up through Cheetah, and Gregor Schill up in the 13th spot.
Runs a bit wide, but no harm, no foul. You can get away with that here. And for Unicorns of Love, we talked about this earlier, on the outside of the qualifications for the Summer Cup Masters. Now, with how it's played out today, they might still have a chance, albeit a small mathematical chance, but got to just now do what they can. Valero, another look to the inside on the run up in towards turn 2, but Schill has it covered.
Yeah, nicely done there from Gregor Schill. Just got the drive off of the final corner, nicely set. I don't think Gael Valero was really trying to attack. They do have to worry about Mateusz Tuszkiewicz, though, who's in 15th and is an ACC specialist and is closing in very much. I know Gregor Schill also is. Gael Valero, though, will be sat there thinking, yep, these two, they're pretty good. And as much as you're fighting your way down the order in this, you think, 13th, 14th, we're talking about some of the real drivers that are battling for the wooden spoon and stuff. Nope, they're still very, very high level drivers. Just at this level of the competition, last is still much, much faster than you and I.
Yeah, Gael Valero, though, got a big old tank slapper on the run out of Clubhouse in towards the S's. And Valero, the first, I think, quote-unquote graduate of the Apex Racing Academy. We've seen him increasingly representing the main outfit in the blue, white and black. Great to see that development forward for him at the front of the field. Good race for Tauscher, bad day for the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, still got another lap to tick off, though. We've got 15 seconds on the timer. We're coming down to the final corner now, and you can see, based on Mitchie Tauscher's position, they aren't going to try and make it go a lap less this time by. They've learned that mistake. They've stuck in a little bit extra fuel. They've put themselves in a bit more of a comfortable spot. 4 seconds ticks down. They cross the line once again, and Mitchie Tauscher will continue to lead here at Kyalami. Malinovsky's going to be close to attacking for that final spot on the podium for Yazzie. Again, just looking for some more points. Defensive line, though, from Nicholas Halban, and he is going to hang on in that GTWR for now, but the up and under up towards Barbecue might just work.
Can confirm no further action for the moment. We had with Luke Whitehead and Malinovsky earlier on into that very same corner. So Malinovsky now not being investigated by race control, but what an up and under that was through the run up through the left-hand corner. That Yas Heat machine, plenty of speed down through Sunset.
Yeah, it's got to be a big move around the outside for Malinovsky to hang on to third spot. He's going for it, though. Is he there? He's still alongside. Oh my goodness, what a super move from Malinovsky. He's still alongside. A bit of contact between the two as they race their way up towards the S's. Nick Halban on the outside, though, as they enter it. Malinovsky in that grey and blue car just up in the third. Super display.
Fantastic stuff. Really enjoying this. And remember, GTWR sister teams with R8G. So while R8G and Roman Grosjean Esports struggle, GTWR joined us in the Summer Cup. Maybe not the most impressive of performances on the other platforms, but coming here, we expected big things from them. They look like they're delivering on their way to the finals. Yeah, with a 4th, a 5th and a 6th in this race. They have been absolutely super, but Mitchie Tauscher's coming up towards the final corner now. See him there in the foreground of shot. He has been super in this race. Unfortunately, he has not had the backup of the team, and I think we're waving goodbye to Unicorns of Love a lot earlier than expected out of the final corner. It is Mitchie Tauscher taking the victory. Bastian Richter and Malinovsky. You see, there wasn't that much of a celebration from Mitchie Tauscher. He knows what the score is. Try and pick up a 3 penalty point instant at the end of the race as well. There's plenty more for race control to look through. Tobias Pfeffer just 16th spot. Mitchie Tauscher, though, I feel for him. Super race for him. It's, stark contrast to what happened to kick off this Esports Racing World Cup back in January of this year. Tauscher was the one that made the mistake, letting his teammates down. Maybe you could argue today the teammates have let him down. We'll bring back in Luke Crane, because Luke, you were thinking coming into this one, maybe it would not be such a surprise to see other teams enjoy some success on ACC. Of course, it's the platform that the Unicorns of Love focus on. It's not a car that they focus on, though.
Yeah, exactly that. I feel like every team's it's more of a level playing field in terms of repetitions with this specific car, and ultimately that's kind of been proven. Although, again, like you said, the teammates let Tauscher down. I'm not sure you could really throw them under the bus for the fact that they've just been so super strong. They were going to make a mistake at some point. Every single racer in the world of racing, whether it be real or sim racing, will make a mistake at some point, and sometimes it doesn't cost you so much, and sometimes it does. It has done today, but I think it goes to show how much everybody else has improved in the competition, that everyone's ready to pounce like a panther. If there's an opportunity, if they see blood, it's like, I'm taking that. GTWR have been nowhere near so far during the Summer Cup. It comes to ACC, of course, their specialist subject, if you like, if it was Mastermind, and they have pounced like a panther. Apex looks like they're going to be going through as well, which not only does that mean they get a chance of winning their second consecutive event, they're going to be the #1 seed going into our Masters. And after what happened in the Spring Cup, did anyone see that coming? We knew that Apex were an incredible team, but they just hadn't figured out this format. They absolutely have now. Redline have got many teams now to be looking over their shoulder at. As Arjuna decides.
Well, Arjuna, see ya. It's nice knowing you. Have fun.
And while the camera decides it doesn't want to play nice today, it's been a difficult day with this camera. Lewis, I'll bring it back over to you and I'll eat some humble pie. I think when I saw the driver lineup for the Apex Racing team, I thought they would struggle today, but they have very much proved me wrong.
Like we've said, they have risen far and above on RF2. We know they're strong on iRacing. That's their hunting ground, and they were super strong there. Look at the start of the season when we were racing on RF2. They were super strong. They finished in third, but realistically, they weren't a million miles away from getting through into the final. They had victories through the day. They looked really strong on a platform where I won't give you some of the quotes, but they weren't exactly pleased with it in the ERWC and the Spring Cup as well here at ERL. And it's the same in ACC. They didn't really get along with it so well. It's no surprise that they've kind of found their footing, especially by bringing Bastian Richter on board, because even the assistance from someone who's experienced on the platform, yes, I'm sure he's not going to give away any big trade secrets from Unicorns of Love, but the experience learning from, being able to look at the data, being able to look at the replays and understand what's actually going on that makes the Bastian Richter and the Unicorns of Love team so fast. Well, a team like Unicorns of Love, they'll build on that.
And even if it's not direct secrets that are being shared, at the very least, they're learning from each other's methodology, which is very important. This level, maybe a different approach can help you find the crucial tenths, hundredths, thousandths that you need to work your way to the front of the grids. Confirmation from Race Control, semi-final results are official. And so for GTWR, their first time heading through to the finals in this Esports Racing League at the third attempt for them for the Apex Racing team after a victory 2 weeks ago. Back-to-back finals for them. It's going to be fun. Again, back to Kailami, 6 cars on track, and we'll talk about the slight change that, Luke, we had between the Spring and the Summer Cup. Races 1 of the best of 3 finals. A qualifying session sets the grid for that. But for race 2, we previously did a top 6 invert, but for the Summer Cup, we've mixed things up, and now it's just the top 4. I know you're not a huge fan of that change, but what does that mean for the teams and drivers as they approach these finals?
Well, first of all, I want to say that for the second time during this Summer Cup, I've got something right. I predicted, well, Veloce weren't here at all, but I said it was going to be them, Yaz Heat, GTWR, or Apex that would be winning this today. So I should just leave now, I think. Second of all, the way everyone kind of knows that I love the 6 being reversed, because it means that the back 2 in the first race tend to sort of like battle to be the last car, so they get pole position. I don't know, it could be a little bit cheesy, but I just think it was a good part of the format, to be honest. But it's a little bit stricter, I guess. It means everybody's racing from start to finish. I can understand why. I don't think it makes that much of a difference, to be completely honest. I feel like it's still going to be the same result regardless. So it's a bit just stricter. We're going to see people racing from start to finish to try and get into that top 4.
In terms of favorites, I think it's very hard to clearly say that one team is significantly faster than the other. But in terms of the lineup, the consistency that they're going to bring in terms of the lap times. Lewis, I think it's hard to look too far past the GTWR squad.
When it comes to an ACC team, they are technically the stronger team. They've got 3 fantastic drivers on the platform. But again, Apex have quality. Whether you're a driver on whatever platform, whether it's iRacing or rFactor 2 or ACC, if you know how to race, you know how to race. It's just about finding the speed. That's the issue. That's the thing that holds a lot of drivers back when they kind of jump onto a new problem. The racecraft's still there. So the fact that Jamie Fluke is now fast enough, the fact that Gael Valero is now fast enough, that will boost them up massively because they have the racecraft to win. We already know that. And then when you've got a lead driver like Bastian Richter, do not count out Apex. I'd say the favourites more so into the GTWR camp, but I would never count out Apex in a race like this.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fascinating. Again, one-on-one, these finals are always something special. We're going to step aside for a couple of moments. The drivers are getting their final break as my camera decides this is the perfect time to take a break as well. We'll be right back. My camera as well. What a day it's been so far. Plenty of great racing action and a camera that decides that it doesn't want to be here randomly. Welcome back to VCO Esports and the Esports Racing League. My name's Arjuna Kankipati, joined by Luke Crane and Lewis McLeod. And while we get set to go for the best of three finals, we'll talk to you about the format and the way that it's gone to build to this. GTWR Esports versus the Apex Racing team. Lewis, talk to us about the day so far.
Yeah, we've said goodbye to some big teams earlier on. We've obviously done the heat, so we had 3 races to build us up into the quarterfinals. And the quarterfinals were everything. They were very dramatic. Goodbye to the likes of Team Redline. Gone by the wayside straight away. Our Arnage competition were in position a couple of times to move through. Fordzilla had some great pace. Absolute Williams, they snuck their way through into the quarters, but weren't able to get through into the semis. And the semis, it was a fantastic race with its fair share of drama, and we've said goodbye to the favourites of the day, Unicorns of Love, stepping aside after drama at the start of the race, leaving us with GTWR and the Apex Racing team to go side by side, to go toe to toe for 3 fantastic races. It's going to be a tough one out there, I believe. But I am going to step aside because, as a classic, it's your time to take us through these 3, hopefully 3. We'll have a wait and see. We've got potentially 3 races up and coming in the final. But Arjuna and Luke, take it away.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the finals. Would you have expected it? GTWR versus Apex in the final. Apex, of course, fresh off the back of their win 2 weeks ago on iRacing with the IndyCar. Now we head here with the Porsche Cup car on ACC. I'm joined by Arjuna. Arjuna, I've just noticed your shirt, by the way, for the first time today. No idea why. Probably because your camera keeps going off, mainly. Incredible shirt. Great to see that you've got involved with a bright shirt there. Lewis still looks like he's wearing a dishcloth that's been used for about 18 months. But still, it's the final. How was this going to go down?
First, I'm wearing this shirt in homage to the one and only Luke Crane. You got to get in the mood for the Summer Cup, surely. Well, as it stands right now, with Richter on top in qualifying, the question really becomes not what does Gaio Valero have in the tank, what does Jamie Fluke have in the tank? We saw the willingness to race, but against the likes of Whitehead and Hubin, you don't just need the raciness, you need the pace as well.
Yeah, 100%. Again, Lewis asked during the break, he said, which team does it? And for me, Apex have the outstanding driver in terms of Richter. He's shown that across the whole day. But GTWR, from me, on ACC, with this car, have the better team. If Apex can get either Fluke or Valero into the top 4 category and they get themselves a race victory with Richter, then, of course, it becomes very easy for them. They win the first one. The second one becomes a bit more difficult, although they would still have pole position with someone like Fluke or Valero. So yeah, I think Richter is the key here. Go out there, get a victory, and just one of your drivers have to just back you up in this first one. But as it stands, the GTWR team, they are playing that team game. They currently hold 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Although Capoccia's points would not count towards the team's final score, he's taking points away from Fluke. That's the main thing here.
And if it finished like this at the end of race 1 with our top 4 invert, even though, for example, Richter wins the race, the team this is where it gets a little confusing for those new. Apex Racing team wouldn't win race 1, it would be the GTWR team, and then they'd have the dominant hand in the second race of these best of 3 finals. Jamie Fluke, half a second off the pace of his teammate. All things considered, not the worst thing to say, but he's got some work to do. Gets a little bit sideways coming through the penultimate couple of corners.
Yeah, there we go. There's a mistake there, and look how tight the times are. You've got to be looking to gain hundreds at this point to gain a position, and a mistake like that is going to cost you maybe tenths of a second. Maybe he's up on his time. We'll find out now as he crosses the line here. Can Jamie Fluke produce something here, get himself into that top 4? Across the line he goes. It's not going to be enough, and it is going to be P5. Richter is going to be pole position unless Capoccia, who's in the pits now actually, is done. So it's going to be Richter, Whitehead, Capoccia, Hubin, Fluke and Valero as your top 6. And you are right there with what you were saying, Arjuna. This is perfect right now for GTWR, because even if Richter goes and wins, if they get 2nd, 3rd and 4th, that means that they would actually win the round, but then start 1st, 2nd and 3rd for the second race. So it will be the top 4 inverted for the second race in terms of our grid start. Oh, we're about to get the cars up here, Arjuna. It's been an incredible day so far. There's been some questionable racing, but for the most part there's been some incredible racing. We've seen some of the moves of the ERL's existence, some of the best moves we've ever seen in the ERL's existence, and I'm sure it's going to continue here Do you have any last-minute predictions?
Predictions, no. I tend to think that GTWR in 2, I think that's likely the most realistic scenario, but I don't think you discount the Apex Racing team. What I do say is for Jamie Fluke, Gael Valero, this competition is about adaptability. And for both of them to be within 7/10, for Fluke it was 3/10 off of an ACC specialist, I think that is something that they'll take great confidence in as they move forward to the Fall Cup.
And of course, 2 of those drivers are very renowned for their PESC exploits on iRacing, which is the same car, just a different platform. So you, Apex, have always got that in their locker, and they're always going to be better over the course of working as a team. Apex are one of the best known for team working together, whether it be sometimes in questionable circumstances, but for the most part, just to win competitions. They're very good at that. GTWR have been exceptional so far today in that regard, so it does become very interesting. I will say a massive thank you to Sir Fosh, who did raid the stream today as well, which is always appreciated. So any of you drivers out there, if you're either racing in this or maybe you're a fan, if you are a streamer and you want to get yourself a shout out during a broadcast, yeah, absolutely, go and get yourself a raid in. So we're just waiting now for the cars to line up here before we go. Well, here we are. It is the finals now. So the cars there are indeed on your grid. So it is Richter in P1 for Apex. Then you've got the dark cars of Whitehead in 2nd position. Then you've got Capoccia. Then you've got Huben, which will be your 2nd row. And then we've got Jamie Fluke and Valero, both for Apex there in the final row. So we're just waiting for them to indeed start getting in and amongst it for the final corners, as we see a very close up there of the GTWR Esports livery, of course. The academy team for the RHG Esports team, but they are the big dogs. They are the big brother so far today of those 2 teams. They've made it to a final. Will Apex, though, make it 2 from 2? Will they get a 2nd victory in our ERL Cups? Or will we see a new winner? Will GTWR manage to get into the winner's circle? We're about to find out then, as we merely have 1 corner to go. The blue, the black, the white of Apex versus the red, the white, the black of GTWR. All 6 drivers then on camera to the bottom left-hand side of your screen. 8 minutes of racing here for race number 1. Could go 3 races, maybe we'll go 2. Who knows here? Richter then will take us away, heading towards that start zone. We're about to go green light racing here. And we are green light racing, then Richter in P1 takes them away. We'll have the inside line then running down towards turn number 1 with Whitehead, who's got a phenomenal start actually. Whitehead's got an exceptional start. Can he sweep it around the outside? Pressure from Capoccia as well. Up the inside here, Whitehead trying to spearhead the GTWR team. Mistake there from Richter. Richter's just lost the rear slightly. It's perfect from GTWR. Up into the lead of this race, and it's P1 then for GTWR. P3 and P4. There's a mistake there from Huben. Huben, is he going to get picked off by Jamie Fluke? Jamie Fluke side by side as we head then up towards 5 and 6. What a start it is from GTWR.
And they just need to hold this. Capoccia can't allow Fluke to get around his outside through Sunset. If he holds station in that 49, it doesn't just set up this first race perfectly for GTWR, but race 2 with the inverted top 4, we'll see a GTWR lock out of the front row. But in this draft train, we've seen this throughout the course of the night so far. It's hard to run away unless you've got another gear to go up into. And with Richter in 2nd, Whitehead not going to be allowed to run away.
Exceptional move there through turn number 1 for Luke Whitehead. Forced all the pressure onto Richter. Richter looked like he was going to be, safe home and dry. But ultimately, I think what really put the pressure on was Capoccia. Capoccia now down into P4. He then sort of faked to make a move up the inside of Richter, which sent Richter offline. And when Whitehead went round the outside, it panicked Richter. Richter lost the rear of the car and ultimately lost the position. Brilliant from GTWR. It wasn't just a move from Whitehead. It was set up by 2 of the drivers, which is exceptional. Hopefully we get a lovely replay of that so I can explain exactly what had happened through there. But as it stands, GTWR are in an incredible position right now in this first race. They lead here with Whitehead, Richter 2nd, Huben and Capoccia for GTWR are in 3rd and 4th. And as Arjuna pointed out there quite rightly, if it was to finish like this, they would have P1 and P2 for race number 2 as well. So massive, massive opportunity. But it is indeed Whitehead that leads to Richter.
Lap 1 in the books. Remember, shorter races in minutes compared to what we've seen in the build up to this, from 12 down to 8. Less time to get things done. You've got to make sure you get straight up to tempo as soon as the green flag flies. Gap starting to build. Whitehead on a roll.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you do if you're Capoccia here? If you're not under too much pressure, you don't really want to push up for forward either. If you're Huben, you don't really need to make an overtake to P2 because it's less beneficial for you for race number 2. Like right now, they are in such a perfect position. You're kind of already thinking about race number 2 here. And I don't think we've ever been able to say that in any of our finals.
Great look on board with all of the drivers. You see the focus on their face. And I always harp on this when we talk about esports professional races, how calm they look as well. When I'm in a situation like this, I get flustered, I start swearing, I start doing all sorts of things that distract me from the actual task at hand as they sweep down in towards the mine shaft. These drivers know there's no time to think about anything else other than fighting their way forward.
Yeah, prime example really was Jamie Fluke making that overtake to me in the quarterfinals to get them through to the semi-finals, when he made that incredible move into turn 1 and then made the incredible move into the final corner, and he looked exactly like he looks now each and every time, as Whitehead there gets a little bit out of shape under maybe a little bit of pressure here. Richter's got to take a bit of solace in that and think, you know what, there is a mistake in him here. If I can go out there and get into the lead of this race, it might not actually make too much of a difference in terms of this result and in our team getting the win, but it might give a bit of confidence to the rest of the team and they might get a bit of a jolt there and they can then improve their positions. But as it stands, even though Whitehead gets out of shape, he's looking so strong since he's got into the lead here, and yeah, not looking likely he's dropping any positions here. Capoccia really is the key man for the team in terms of if he can hold on to P4, that means he starts pole position for race number 2. And as it stands, GTWR are just in a perfect position here to make this not only a pretty comfortable victory in race number 1, but they would be looking very comfortable going into race number 2 to pick this off really easily.
Already halfway through this first final, as we'll take a look at the VCO Esports replay as to the move at the start. So it was a good start from Richter on the run up in towards turn 2, but you could see it was a launch from Whitehead that gave him the opportunity to commit around the outside. On cold tires, that is supreme confidence, and by the time they worked into the right-hand kink of turn 3, Whitehead was to the lead.
Yeah, and Capoccia dropped down to 4th position again, a key figure in all of that because he kind of faked a move up the inside on Richter. Richter then had to go in really squared through, or a really acute angle through turn 1, so that means that if he wanted to get as good exit as Whitehead, he had to light up the rear wheels, and ultimately saw the car react in a poor fashion. Lost him a bit of time, and Whitehead just said thank you very much. And I'm not trying to take anything away there from Luke, that was an incredible move, but again with the aid of his teammate, and that's what this championship's all about. It's all about working together as a team. Still Whitehead leading, Richter 2nd, Huben and Capoccia are in 3rd and 4th position. It doesn't look like Fluke's really able to catch up to Capoccia here, and Valero's dropped right off the back. And if this was the Spring Cup, it would be Valero and Fluke on pole position and P2, but it's not. It means Capoccia and Huben will be your front row for race number 2.
And let's talk about Whitehead for just a moment. Of course, when SRO Esports came here, what was it, a couple of weeks ago, just at the end of June, for Whitehead, finished on the podium, built up a further lead at the top of the standings, and for such a competitive esports championship like that, where the GT3 competition doesn't get much bigger and better than that, what confidence you'll bring into this race as well. But when you're hunted down by someone that you've raced with so many times before, in a short format like this, to some degree, it can be a comfort. You're in a familiar situation, maybe a slightly unfamiliar car, but Luke Whitehead, top right of the 6 box that you're seeing in the screen with all the drivers right now, you can tell he's focused, and even after these next 2 minutes are done, there's still more racing left to go.
Yeah, and you rightly bring that competition up, because before that, and I would say maybe 9 months ago, Whitehead was the kind of driver that wasn't able to hook it up. Very quick in a straight, in 1 lap pace, very quick over the course of a race, but would do 1 lap that, for instance, was a 141 flat around here, and then do a 143 randomly out of nowhere where there was a mistake. That just isn't the case now. He's got ice in his veins, he's a different driver, and that's because he's just competing time and time again. And this is his playground, you know, home turf, if you like, around Kyalami. It's his favourite track. It's a lot of people's favourite track on ACC. It's certainly mine to watch races on, that's for sure. So there's a little bit of a mistake there from Whitehead. But again, he's just trying to almost guarantee himself the victory by just staying away from the curbs. Around most of the corners, especially in the final sector, the curbs really can hurt you. So if you can stay away from them, but also not lose too much performance to the car behind you, you're just in a much safer position, because you're forcing Richter to indeed go and hit those curbs. I was talking earlier on, by the way, about Richter driving for Apex. Is that going to hurt UOL? I think it has today, hasn't it? Because imagine if Richter wasn't driving for Apex. UOL are in this final, right?
yes and no. I don't recall seeing Richter at any point during the Esports Racing World Cup or the Spring Cup, so it wasn't like he was part of the 5-man roster for UOL anyway. And
I'm just talking today, like if they don't loan him out.
But my point being here, it hasn't hurt them so far. It's hurting them today. But if this relationship continues to develop, and for the Fall Cup, Alex Simpson already saying there's more surprises in line. Does Unicorns of Love get iRacing specialists in the Fall Cup that specializes in, guess, iRacing? So maybe they lose out today, but do they benefit later on? Who knows? It's a storyline that you can't know how it's going to end today. You wait to see until the end of this road to the Esports Racing World Cup.
And that's the beauty of this competition, right? It's like an onion. So many different layers to it, so many different storylines. Apex, who look like they're going to lose race number 1 here, they are actually going to be the number 1 seed going into the Masters. So there's 12 teams that go through, and the first round is seed 1 versus seed 12, seed 2 versus seed 11, and so on and so forth. So yeah, going into this, no one would have thought Redline were going to be under any pressure to lose that today, to be completely honest. And while Apex over the last couple of championships have absolutely dominated, they've been superb, but today is going to belong so far to GTWR. Actually, there's a mistake there from Richter, and wow, yeah, I think that might be really clever. I think that's an intentional mistake there. Let's not take it away though from Luke Whitehead. Whitehead will cross the line and will get P1, and it's going to be then P2 for Huben, and then it's going to be Kapochu who does take P3. I think Richter has made a mistake there. I used the quotation marks with my hands. That is a mistake, if you know what I mean, to start pole position for race number 2.
Agree. I think that was the smartest thing to do. Lewis, when you watched all of that, you saw the move into the first sector on the opening lap. Anything surprise you other than that?
No, I mean, it was pretty calm, pretty well predicted. GTWR looking very, very strong here. We did have that little vote in chat, and everyone was kind of predicting that it was going to go the way of GTWR. That's fair enough. Now, if this was the previous final format that we had in the Spring Cup and we had in the ERWC, then maybe this would be a bit more open with Apex Racing Team. We're also, whilst we're having a lot of fun with the competition, we're also looking for the best team. So having the entirety of the grid reversed sometimes might not be the best way. That is why it's just the top 4. Sebastian Richter will go back onto the pole position, but it's still advantage GTWR. They are still well in control here today. They're going to be a very difficult team to beat. It needs to come from the likes of Gar Valero and from Jamie Fleek.
Basically, the starting grid for race 2 of the finals, the same as race number 1. No change there. We'll wait and see exactly how things will shake up. But we're not going to talk about our competitors winning now. We're going to talk about you, our fans, winning a next level racing gaming chair. Those in our chat have entered their names in, and the big boss man, Florian Hasper, has just drawn the winner of their very first next level racing gaming chair, thanks to our official cockpit partners at VCO Esports. And well, while the Unicorns of Love aren't winning on track here today, one of their drivers, UOL_Lars, has walked away with a next level racing gaming chair. So congratulations, you'll hear from Florian in the very near future to coordinate all of that. Always great when we can celebrate you as well. But we look forward now to the Esports Racing League Fall Cup, and I'll come back to the point, Luke, that you and I were discussing at the very end of that race. Unicorns of Love loaning one of their drivers out today, maybe losing out as a result of that. It might benefit them in the fall.
Yeah, it could well do. Again, that's what the beauty of this competition. I do just want to address Drar in the chat who says I look really pissed because of what Huben just done. No, quite the opposite. Like I think this competition is so unique. You've got to find the meta way of winning. It's not necessarily about being. Well, of course, it is about being the fastest drivers, of course, but there are certain instances where you've got to think a little bit outside the box there. I think it's really clever what he did there. He even tried to make it look like he didn't need to. He could have just pulled to one side and be P4, but he even tried to make it look like a genuine mistake. So no, I'm quite the opposite. But in terms of the Richter thing, I don't know. We spoke about how Apex were, not so strong in the Spring Cup, and UOL are quite new to sim racing, right? They're very good with ACC, maybe don't know too much about iRacing and rFactor 2, and I just think that they may have seen Apex's results in that competition specifically and maybe saw a sign of, they're quite weak, so they're not going to be that much of a problem moving forward. And then we head to the Summer Cup, and Apex have got it all figured out, and they are, the strongest team now. You can't really argue with the results. As much as Redline have been the dominant team and UOL have been so good at ACC, they are seed number 1 going into the Masters, so they are the strongest team. So that's how I see it. That's why I'm thinking, is it a mistake? But you're right. I think in the long term, it freeing up space on their squad for someone to come in maybe for iRacing or something is probably beneficial. But Apex are a massive winner from that scenario.
Another topic we talked about during that race was the young Luke Whitehead and his growth over the last 12 months. And it's something that you and I, Lewis, have discussed many a time, as sim racing is so mentally focused and such a young sort of a target audience as well. The more mental capacity you have, the faster you tend to be. And that's where, whether you're GTWR partnered up with RAG as, you know, quote unquote, the academy there, the Apex Racing Academy that's developed the likes of Gael Valero, we are seeing more and more organizations make a commitment to bringing forward the next generation of sim racing professionals.
Yeah, it's not like the world of motorsport where we're limited by age. You know, in motorsport, obviously, we kind of see it that, yes, sure, people do race in their 50s and 60s and whatnot, but for the most part, the majority of high-level motorsport, you've got to be in your sort of early 20s, you know, even younger than that for some. You can sort of race to your early 30s, but then after that, it's kind of like you're speaking of retirement past that point. In sim racing, it's less so that way, but still we have the young superstars coming through the ranks. They're the ones that have grown up around the racing, and that is why they are so fast. Either way, you don't want to hear three people waffling on. You want to see some great racing. Are we going to a third race here in the finals, or are we jumping straight through and crowning a victor in GTWR? We'll have to wait and see, because it's another race coming up now.
The round one to GTWR, they will start in second, third, and fourth position. Richter's played a blinder here by getting pole position, but if Valero and Fluke do not make up any positions, it's not going to matter. It will still be 2-0 to GTWR. How do you see this one going down here, Arjuna?
I'm trying to figure out if it's deja vu or not. It's slightly mixed up. It's not the exact same starting order that we had. It's close enough. Close enough makes no difference as well. GTWR can control. Richter this time around has got to be a little bit more forceful in the run to turn one. Remember, strike one went to GTWR. It doesn't matter now if GTWR runs away with this one. If you're Richter, you can afford to get some penalties if things don't go your way.
All right, saying we've only had 3 different winners. We've had Apex, of course, last time out,
yes.
Unicorns of Love, and Redline. So are we potentially about to see a 4th different winner, or is it going to be 2 from 2 events and number 1 seeds going into the Masters? We're about to find out here. So the engines are indeed beginning to start. We've got a few corners in terms of a sort of a formation sector, more than a formation lap, and it will be Richter. How important was that mistake that he made into the second to last corner going to be in terms of their performance in this second race? If GTWR win this race, it's done and dusted. Apex have to get the point in this race to send it to a third. We head then up towards the grid and we wait for those green lights. They'll go past the start-finish line and then they'll go underneath the lights and they will turn green. It is Richter who has to at least stay in the lead this time round. Capoccia, who was so vital in his team getting into the lead in race number 1. How is this going to go down? Green lights are on. We are green light racing then down towards turn number 1, the kink. Lewis loves the turn number 1. It's not really a turn. And then we head down in towards turn number 2, or as I like to call it, actually the turn number 1. Richter once again then does go through turn number 1 in the lead, and he's actually going to hold on to it here. A bit of contact, I think. Capoccia, again, just letting him know that he's there, as there's a mistake in the background here. Who's that down in P6? It's either Valero or indeed Jamie Fluke here, so not a good start for them. And I think it's Valero. So Valero then dropped right to the back of the order, and that is not ideal. So it looks like Apex are going to be fighting with only 2 cars in this race, and Jamie Fluke has to make an overtake if his team are to win this. But as it stands, Richter has done the first job for the Apex Racing team. He's in the lead.
It was Jamie Fluke, and that's where the struggle is going to come, because Valero has just not been on the pace of Fluke, let alone of Richter. So Richter leads from Capoccia, Whitehead, and Huben, but as it runs right now, it's done. I said 2-0 to GTWR. I think we're trending in that direction.
Yeah, apparently Jamie Fluke didn't ready up in time. Like, that is a very much a rookie error from someone who's very much not a rookie. So that's not ideal here for the Apex team. And as it stands, there's a mistake here from Richter. It's going to be side-by-side action. Down the hill we will come. And Capoccia will absolutely look to get involved in the lead. He was involved in the battle for the lead earlier on in race number 1. But he didn't actually get into the lead. Lost the position himself. Went down to P4. This time he's looking to take it all on his own. He's got Whitehead then. It's going to make it 3 wide. Capoccia not letting Richter come back off the circuit here. Through then the next right-hander. Richter's held on. This is brilliant stuff from Richter. He's doing everything to drag this Apex team towards a potential point. Whitehead's going to be let through here by Capoccia as well. Of course, he has been the standout driver for the GTWR team. But right now, Gael Valero has to make something happen. He has to make something happen big time. And I think the only way it's going to happen is Richter's got to back the pack up. And that's so difficult when you've got 3 of the other cars being another team behind you.
Would not be shocked if for Jamie Fluke it was some sort of technical mix-up there. He's seen this sort of back-to-back quick-fire races many a time in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. And you're right, if you're Richter, get the sails out. You got to, or the anchors out, excuse me. You've got to drag Whitehead, Huben, Capoccia all into the clutches of Gael Valero. At the very least, Valero's got to find his way up into 4th. It might not matter though. Whitehead looks around the outside at sunset.
Yeah, it's not going to matter here if Richter gets overtaken, but right now he's doing everything in his power to indeed hold on, and I think Capoccia is playing a very clever game here. Capoccia's just got to slow down Valero and absolutely make it so there's no possibility of Valero getting up into that P4 position. So Richter, again, he can go out and win this, but it's going to be in vain. GTWR playing the team game. As I said earlier on, Richter for me was the outright pace, as we see a bit of a reverse swoop up the inside, bit of contact between the two of them. I don't think there's too much into that. Loses the rear of the car, then Richter with another opportunity to go around the outside. And now you can see also Huben trying to come through as well. And this is really good work, good stuff for Valero. So it does give him a chance to overtake. But actually, it's Whitehead that does get into the lead. He is going to hold on to this position, does have the inside line. And now it could be a 1-2 for GTWR. It is. Huben's going to come through. Off the circuit we go. Too much curb there indeed for Richter. Richter's going to drop further and further back. And wow, GTWR proving to be the absolute team to beat today. Incredible stuff. And actually, it looks like it might be a 1-2-3 here as Capoccia is trying to go around the outside, not quite going to work out. And that is clever. That's something we haven't seen here, really, from any team, because Capoccia had a chance of making a move, and he's just like, do you know what? I don't want any penalty points here. I'm not getting involved. And I would be very surprised if he doesn't just pull over to one side and go, yeah, absolutely, go up the inside, have the position. And I'm completely wrong, because he's actually defended and actually looking to attack himself. What is going on here?
A mistake, though, at the front of the field. Did Whitehead go deep? I think Huben just swept to the race lead. Richter tucked up behind them as well. The more they fight, the closer Jamie Fluke comes. Whitehead drops 2 wheels off the grass. Huben's taken the lead. Richter's up to 2nd. Teammates fighting side by side for 3rd, while Valero tries to go the long way around on Capoccia, around the outside at sunset.
Yeah, this is not done by any means here. As it stands, again, it is the lead for Huben, which again is quite ridiculous. We had no idea. We thought Whitehead would probably be the guy that gets out into the front bit here, but Huben's been given a bit of a lifeline. And ironically here, Jamie Fluke, who was about 4.5 miles behind everybody, is now only, within 2.3 seconds. So more shenanigans happen here. Fluke can get involved. And again, they don't necessarily need to win this race. They need to get up into 2nd and 3rd position. So this race is not done and dusted. Only 3.5 minutes to go. But it is Huben at least. Richter is just, wow, just got to hold on.
Yeah, at this point, survive. That's all you've really got to do. What a shake-up this last lap around Kyalami has really delivered to us, and good to see Gael Valero mixing it up with ACC's finest. This is what we love. For so long, sim racing has been broken up into niches within a niche. Sim racing is a niche within a niche within a niche, and it's great that we get someone like Capoccia fighting with Valero, a battle you never think you'd seen before. Jamie Fluke, a World Championship competitor on iRacing, sharing a grid with an SRO esports competitor in Whitehead. It's a lot of fun, but it does look as though 2 laps to go, GTWR in control.
Yeah, Richter has to give up the win here. Has to decide, you know, and he is. That's brilliant from him. He goes defensive, and he's just really slow on the apex, which is now going to force the 2 cars behind him to be slow, and it just gets Valero. He wants Fluke to be there, not Valero, ideally, but Valero could play a vital part here. Has to make 2 overtakes, but Fluke is very much closing in. I think Richter's playing a very clever game here, trying to slow them down. Again, going very defensive here, which is, again, just stay on the apex, make sure the inside's covered here. You can go around the outside if you want, but you're going to lose time by going there. And then that could give a chance for his teammates to catch up. So this is definitely not over. Again, Huben's going to go out there and win this race. That gap's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger. Richter has got to play every single tactic in the book right now. You may not like it, but this is the only way Apex get the victory in this race number 2.
Fluke's closing, and he's closing fast. There's Valero off the back of Whitehead. Fluke only about a 2nd behind them as well. Again, Richter will go defensive at the top of the hill, down through the hairpin. Capoccia doesn't try and have a lunge. Whitehead slots back into line as well. Great look from up above. You can see how they're just all running in station for now. Huben running away. Richter continues to try and bring Jamie Fluke into the equation.
Yeah, Capoccia's got to do the same thing here. I'll tell you what, Valero's going around the outside here. Can he make it stick, though? He is not going to make it stick. But really, Capoccia has got to play the clever game here himself. And, sorry, it's Whitehead. Whitehead's got to back Valero up. So then it's just, they've got the two GTWR cars in between the rest of the pack here, and they're golden. But right now, with the race lead and Capoccia being in P3, it's good enough. Whitehead's got to sacrifice his race because Richter is doing exactly that. Slipstreaming though, all the way down to turn number 1. And wow, Capoccia, is he going to try and find a gap up the inside? He's not. So Richter's going to, again, go very slowly through turn number 1. He's going to sweep out to the right here to force it to be a very tough move around the outside. And again, slows them down significantly enough here. Valero closing in on Luke Whitehead, who's the second of the GTWR cars. But look at this, Jamie Fluke now back. He's got bags of experience, but has he been in this situation before? But if there's one driver that you would want in this situation, it is Jamie Fluke. Can Richter do the job of all jobs in terms of a team and slow them down enough to get one of those Apex cars up into P3? Oh, this is going to be close. 22 seconds left on the clock. It is the final lap of today's race, and it is coming down to this final lap.
Valero's got to let Fluke go past now. He's tried for 2-3 laps to find a way through, has been unable to do so. With what, 4 corners to go, Jamie Fluke doesn't have much time to experiment. Valero's got to let him go, and let him go quickly, coming in to the hairpin for the final time.
Yeah, he's letting him go now, I think, because they're all trying to dive up the inside. Valero's going to go around the outside then of Luke Whitehead. Whitehead closes him off. And now, again, you're wrong. Valero's going to go off the circuit here. He's going to be slow. And finally, to let Fluke go through. Richter, can he slow them down enough here? I don't think he can. I think GTWR have played an absolute blinder here. They've been a standout team from start to finish. Not necessarily the fastest over the course of the races, but as a team, they've been absolutely outstanding. Richter still trying his hardest here, but I don't think it's going to work out, because up the inside, Capoccia goes. Bit of contact between the two there. I'm not too sure anyone really initiated that. There's even more contact in the background, but I still don't think it's going to be enough here. Huben is going to take the victory, will cross the line, but who's going to get second and third? Oh, I think if Capoccia's just about got it for GTWR. I'm not sure there's any instance really we could look at and say that GTWR are going to get a penalty. I'm going to call it right now. It is a 4th different winner here at the ERL. GTWR are now in that list. Congratulations to them. Exceptional performance from start to finish today.
Agreed. I think if you're looking at penalty, it's likely on the Apex Racing team for that little moment in the penultimate corner that saw one of the GTW cars around. We'll wait for final confirmation from race control, but Lewis, as we see it right now, do you have any reason to disagree?
No, I think it's pretty much a slam dunk there. I think GTR are going to take the victory. Race Control will have a couple of things to look at there. There's a little bit of squeezing off from bits of hard race and stuff. I don't think anything's going to come of it. If there is a penalty, it kind of looks like it would go the way of Apex coming through the penultimate corner. We'll take a look here, and you'll kind of see what I mean. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I think Rick kind of opened up the corner here and gone, do you know what, send one up the inside here, create contact with me, give a penalty, and there's just not enough in that. It's a case of Richter's gone, look, are you going to overshoot this corner? Is there the potential for you to send me off? And that's the only way we're going to really win this at this late stage of the race. And it was a good overtake. Yes, there was a bit of contact, but it was a scrape at best. GTWR, they did the job, and again, it wasn't just necessarily with one driver. Whitehead looks like he's a standout, but Huben went and took the opportunity of going into the lead and absolutely dominated from that point. Richter did try his best though to play the team game, and that's what I'm loving from this competition. People are really understanding that you've just got to think outside the box here to get your team across the line in the lead. You don't necessarily need to win the races. He tried absolutely everything, it just wasn't enough. But you just got to tip your hat. We've got a 4th different winner, and the further we go along this competition, teams are going to get better. They're going to get better drivers in for specific competitions, and ultimately we're going to have a championship where we're going to have 6, 7, 8 cars fighting for wins each and every time. GTWR, by the way, were second last coming into today in the Summer Cup, and they've gone out there and won an event. Ridiculous.
It is confirmed. Race Control has called it official. Your winners on Assetto Corsa Competizione in this Esports Racing League Summer Cup is GTWR Esports. It only took them 3 attempts. They become just the 4th different winner through the course of 2022. What a day it's been. And Lewis, 93% of our VCO esports fans wanted us to go racing at Kyalami. What a choice that was.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I love Brands Hatch. I think Brands Hatch is a great circuit. I think it's more of a circuit that's suited to the cars that we're using on rFactor 2 this season. Don't get me wrong, obviously being those touring cars. These kind of cars, you want a nice open circuit. Kyalami is that. It's a circuit which is not used that much. Of course, we have it on ACC. We don't have it on rFactor 2. Don't have it on iRacing. It's a circuit that not too many are used to. And it's a circuit that as fans of the track, I've known about the circuit for a while, especially since it came on ACC, raced it a little bit on AMS and things like that. It's a circuit that I love and that I want more people to know about. And a day like this shows exactly why. It is a great track for racing, be it sprint or endurance.
And while we sing the praises of GTWR, let's not forget the Apex Racing team, Luke. I mean, great performance from them here on a platform that they weren't familiar with. In fact, that's been the story of the Summer Cup, even on rFactor 2. And they'll walk into the Masters in a couple of weeks' time with the #1 seeding on their backs. They are the benchmark to be beat.
Yeah, absolutely. And would anyone have said that from the Spring Cup? Because again, I don't want to do Apex a disservice. They are one of the biggest names in sim racing. They were dog awful when it came to the Spring Cup. They weren't good, and they weren't good enough. They've come here and absolutely blown people out of the water. Like, they've just upped their level to where we're expecting Apex to be. In and amongst the RHGs, the Redlines, GTWR today, the Unicorns of Love. They really have announced themselves within this competition, and everybody's got to be on watch now because, like you said, they are the team to beat across the Summer Cup. They are the #1 seeds. It's pretty scary. But if you just look at the names on this list here that went out so early. Like, Redline went out at the quarterfinals. The TX3 looked like they were going to go a lot further than they did. Like, when you get to the semi-finals, it's all about just holding your nerve. And Apex being, of course, the elder statesman, if you like, in terms of the names, you're just used to seeing them performing over and over again. And then GTWR are just an ACC specialist, so it was a really, really good final. It just didn't quite go for Apex this time, but when it gets to the actual Masters in 4 weeks' time, don't bet against them. Never bet against them.
And as well, crucial that they got this sort of performance across the line, because heading out of the Spring Cup, no one thought that Apex even had a chance of making it to the Esports Racing World Cup. With this Summer Cup performance, looks likely we'll see the Apex Racing team working to the World Cup, hopefully in person in February of 2023. Let's not dawdle too much longer, though. Let's go straight down to our winner's interview, where we're first going to be joined by Nicholas Halbin, and we chat with him now. Luke, take it away.
Well, you got yourself a win in race #2, but you didn't really look like the outright pace driver of the team. How important was it for the team to work together to get this victory today?
Well, first, thank you. I think teamwork was today the way to go, and I think we managed it quite perfectly. We were not particularly the fastest out of every team, but we were pretty consistent, worked pretty well together, outsmarted the other guys, and teamwork was the edge today.
I mean, you've looked super strong all day as the team favourites. Was there anyone that was knocked out maybe a little bit earlier that you were concerned about? Of course, we know about Unicorns Love, Team Redline. Anyone else?
I think the big surprise is always when Unicorns are not in the finals, just because they were out of pure pace, they are the fastest. Probably Redline, because they were pretty good in ACC in the last time, but they seem to struggle this time.
We go. Right, there he is on screen. So, Luke, how are you feeling after that, mate? Like, again, I've watched you for a long time now, haven't I? And it's kind of, you've always been quick, but you've never been able to kind of put it together. But the last sort of 3 or 4 months, maybe even 6 months, you've really found a different level.
GTWR, we know that you're an ACC specialised team. What's the biggest thing that you feel you've learnt through racing in the ERL Summer Cup, of course, over rFactor 2, iRacing, and now here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, where you kind of know most things anyway?
Yeah, I think it's just keeping a cool head. I mean, this obviously it's such a short race. They're only 8-minute, 12-minute races at the longest. So, people get desperate. People get very desperate, and obviously in such a big event such as this, that only escalates. So the whole thing was just keeping a cool head, and obviously we had a lot of rubbish happen to us throughout the races. Obviously I got battered quite a bit, and obviously we all did. But that's how people played it, and that's how we had to race. And obviously, I think that, more than any other race that I've ever been in, for sure, it was another level of toughness. But I certainly enjoyed it and learnt a lot, and it feels that much sweeter to come out on top of such incredible drivers, such as the ones we raced today.
Well, thank you to Luke Whitehead. We'll pass straight over to Andrea Capoccia. Luke, take it away with the first question.
Andrea, I just want to talk about the turn #1, race #1. I feel like, first of all, congratulations, incredible performance.
Thank you.
But I don't know, how important was it for you to put pressure on Richter so that Luke could make that move?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the races were incredibly difficult. We knew that we had the pace because the team overall was very strong. But point is that we knew Bastian was like tiny bit faster than all of us, so we had to only take him. But it was easier because having 3 drivers focusing only on 1 driver, it was a little bit easier to manage. On the first race, it was okay, but on the first race, turn 1, I let Nicholas through because I knew Nicholas and Luke were a little bit faster on race pace, and I, also being the team manager, I wanted to take the risky part, like the part where you have to back up the drivers that are coming from behind, and you need to leave them ahead because we only had to win. We only had to stay in that positions. Like it 3v4 was perfect. So I left Nicholas on the outside, and I let him slide through on turn 2, and then I just managed the race, and it went pretty good. Overall, the performance of the team was flawless. I'm so happy with the performance of the guys. Yeah, the only thing I'm sorry about is that this t-shirt, like my my summer t-shirt on. I don't have my team t-shirt, and my bosses are very angry about that. But yeah,
don't worry, Lewis has got a rubbish shirt on himself. That's
Thank
fine.
you. Cheers, mate.
Oh no, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Now, obviously, team branding aside, you've put on such a great performance on a day like this. What's been, and obviously, aside from the win, aside from the final, what's been your sort of favourite part of the day, battling through the heats with all the different teams, trying to find your way through the quarterfinals and the semis where things can get a little bit messy and a little bit dicey? What was the highlight?
I think the turning point for us was in the semifinals, when I bottled quali, like totally bottled quali, started P30, and Nicholas and Luke were far ahead, but they were in a pack with crazy fast drivers, so we couldn't really leave them there. So at the start, I overtook like 6 people because of the crashes, but after that, there was an overtake I did on Dominic Blyer and I think Fluke. And because we were 3 wide in the second to last corner on the sausage, that was crazy, and that allowed us to be P3, P4, P5, I think, or P4, 5, and 6 at the end of the race. So it was perfect, and I think that's what I'm gonna remember more. But I think the crossing the line, last race, knowing that you won, that's the best moment ever. Actually, you can't say anything either.
Well, thank you, Andrea. Thank you to the whole team. What a super performance. Go out and enjoy it. Have fun. Let's straight back to Arjuna. And, I mean, mate, what a round it was.
Could hear the delight for some of those guys as well. They're only joined the competition to GTWR earlier this summer for the very first round of the Summer Cup. What a storyline it's been for them. They won't make it to the Masters, but there's still plenty of positives to take from that. Here is a look at your ERL Summer Cup Masters qualifiers. The Apex Racing team leads the likes of BS Competition and Team Redline in the bracket qualifying seedings, as you were. Williams then will be 4th, RHG Burst, Unicorns of Love, Koana Gaming, the debutantes in the ERL make it through with Patrick Long Esports, Triton Racing, Team Fordzilla, and Carbon Simsport. 1 point in front of Yas Heat and Arnage Competition for those 2 teams. I'll be looking on with just a little bit of disappointment. The Summer Cup, though, has well and truly changed the game when it comes to the most valuable driver standings. Enzo Benito is starting to run away as the most adaptable driver in the Esports Racing League, but Enzo Benito, Jamie Fluke, both walk away with podiums across all 3 platforms, understanding what the ERL is all about. What a ride the Summer Cup has been. The 25-26 teams that entered whittle down to the 12 that will do battle on rFactor 2 on August 10th. It's the same time, the same place, here on VCO Esports, live and with all the fun. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to have been joined by Luke Crane and Lewis McLeod for the action once more. Do remember, even though it's a long while before we go racing once more here in ERL, plenty more action on VCO Esports with Precision Racing League action almost every day of the week. Today, later on today, the PRL Truck Series goes racing for once more. It's going to be fun. VCO has you covered. For now, though, we are ready to bid you farewell. GTWR, take a bow. What a performance it was from you. The Apex Racing team pushed them all the way. Storylines as well, with Team Redline and Unicorns of Love struggling to work their way through, have been blown wide open. We'll see you on August 10th for the Masters. For now, so long and goodbye.